Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PUBG Global Invitational. I'm Findable Carpet, and I'm going to be your host for this lovely weekend. Now, if you tuned in yesterday, welcome back. And if you didn't, I'm a little disappointed, but luckily, we had a feeling that you'd be a little irresponsible and you probably would forget the broadcast. So we put together a package of the best highlights from yesterday to show you how it all went down. Now, let me give you a quick recap of what this weekend's all about. I am currently surrounded by the top 20 North American teams, and they are fighting for a top 3 finish, because a top 3 finish means that they get to stamp their ticket to Berlin at a chance to fight against the rest of the world. But it's not just about that trip either. There's $150,000 on the line this weekend to give away. First place goes home with $32,000 split amongst all 4 players, and you can see all the way down there, even just making it this far. Proving that you're a top 20 team means that you go home with at least $2,000 to split, well, hopefully even amongst all your teammates. Now, when we're looking for broadcast teams, when we want to get the best of the best, we always find them. And for this broadcast, we definitely did. But we always want someone that goes just a little bit above and beyond. Now, our desk host is something special. He's not just a host, he's not just an analyst, but he always brings that extra layer. And today, he's actually doing a cosplay of my dad's college physics professor. And it just goes to show that he really goes above and beyond.
Well, thank you so much, Findable Carpet. We'll be taking you to school all throughout the rest of this day. But right now, we are going to educate you guys on our leaderboard right now. Who is in the top 10? Who is in who are we surprised by?
I can tell you who's
here?
top 1 for sure.
Tell me who's top 1.
I mean, Ghost is going to be dominating day 1. We'll see if they move into day 2. Here it is. So we'll see if they move into day 2. A big one for me that I'd like is FlyQuest in 4th position, playing with a sub Paradox here because one of their players wasn't old enough to play.
Yeah.
Doing a really great job representing themselves.
They haven't been terribly flashy the first 4 games, but they've been like consistently near the top. They haven't won a game yet, I don't recall, but they've still been doing good enough to be in the top 4. They were 2nd at one point, I think.
Speaking of winning a game, Honey Badger Nation, 2nd place.
Yeah.
Awesome to see them up there. They won a game. They've been sort of coming. And honestly, they won that game, and I think you said it. Like, they weren't playing like you expected them to. But it seems like the more they play like Honey Badger we expect, the more I would start to stress if I was everybody else.
Absolutely. We got to see if they can keep that consistency going into day 2, as we have 4 more games lined up for today. We saw a couple of our winners that weren't sitting at the top of the leaderboard, and one of those being Optic. Definitely disappointing. Well, they were disappointed in their performance from yesterday, but expecting to see a lot of things coming from those guys today. Now, we have a couple of teams that we wanted to really highlight before we get into the games for today. Cameron, tell us a little bit about Honey Badger Nation. We talked a little bit about them. They're currently in 2nd place. What else do we want to know about them?
Yeah, so Honey Badger Nation, they're a relatively new team on the scene. They're not as old and tested as such as teams like Ghost, United, all those names that you're more familiar with. But they ended up winning their group during the 3rd round. On top of a number of these other more familiar teams, they look really strong coming into this, and I did give them a little bit of flack even on the game that they won. But it's in tough love because I know that they can do better. They can go aggressive, and even in squad 20 games, they do like to employ splits, which are riskier when there are more teams naturally. So I hope that they can continue to push that, hope that they can be more aggressive with their map control as well as their own individual play when they take fights. And they're in 2nd place right now. This is a very, very good spot for them to be in. Hopefully that they don't get worried and scared and they continue that momentum forward and stay up there for the rest of the weekend.
And I think that's one of the things that we were talking about. We just want to see more aggression. They played it safe, but now it's day 2. You don't have time to play it safe. You need to get the points as much as you can. Toffees, tell us a little about Team Nova.
So here's the thing about Nova is I think Nova's been on an upswing lately. I think that they came out to DreamHack. They won a game there. They did pretty well. And they've been sort of merging as a team. You're looking at them. You can tell they're a bit of a younger team, but they've been together for 6 months. So they're starting to really feel each other's vibe right now. And these guys just love playing PUBG. Landoon skipped his graduation ceremony to play at DreamHack. So this is a guy who is dedicated to the esports sort of growth and scene within PUBG and is willing to play no matter what. So I want to see them play their game. They did great yesterday. They sort of got a little bit better. And I think as long as they focus on sort of this position-driven aggression is sort of the way that I look at their play. They wait, they get to a good spot, and they say, is it worth fighting to hold this position? And we'll sort of plan those fights around how valuable it'll be for the next circle or 2. If they stick to that, they aggressively gather information and execute, I think that these guys can come out on top. And the thing I do love about them is they have a secret word from what I understand on the team. Like when their IGL is making calls, so that they all help with the calls. And they said, you know what, if one person makes a call and then sort of says this word, all argument stops and we just fall in line and do it. So they have this sort of like, I don't know, bailout plan when the chaos hits the fan. I thought that was kind of a cool little feature.
Do you know what the word is?
Of course not. I'm sure they change. They probably change it in an email every single day so nobody can sneak in.
Probably. Well, guys, we are about to load into the game. First game of today, 2nd day. So much riding on the line. Who are your predictions going into this first game? Oh, I guess we'll start with me, actually.
That's a good
You know
idea.
what? I'm gonna take control here. I'm going with Dignitas. Dignitas was playing very, very strong. They had a great performance coming out of DreamHack. They've kind of spun the wheels a little bit in the first day, but I think that they're going to come out. They're one of these teams that gets stronger the more the tournament goes on. So that's who I'm looking at today.
Awesome. Well, I put it out on Twitter and said, who do you think I should vote for first? The people asked me to go for Ghost Vias, if you will.
Ghost Vias.
Yep, I'm gonna say yes. And here's the thing. I think they have 2 more games where their aggression wins out because everyone's playing for placement right now. So a team who's playing a little crazy gets by without third parties. After this, I don't know if that's going to hang anymore.
I'm just going to go for Optic. They're only in the middle of the top 10 right now, but you can tell that they were very disappointed with their own play. They actually stayed behind longer than any other team, so I'm hoping they're going to be able to fix their mistakes and come out on top now.
Well, that is going to do it for us at the desk. We are going to go directly now into game with your casters, WTF Moses and Matrim.
Thank you, Clark Kent. I am here. I am WTF Moses. I am here with Matrim, and we are ready for day number 2. First game of the day on deck. We get to see now, is the momentum going to carry forward for Ghost? Can the bottom 8, the last half of the leaderboard, start to get a little bit more comfortable? They're in the LAN environment maybe for the first time. Can they keep it together?
I think that's the question. I mean, don't get confused as we go into this. You're going to see nameplates are a little bit different. Ghost actually has 2 players from Envy on their roster right now, so it's going to be, you're going to see kind of 2 duos playing together. So don't get confused if you see Envious playing inside of this. That's why we are referring to them as Ghostiest, or I don't know, Ghost, as we go through all of this. So keep an eye out on them. They are definitely the guys at the top of the leaderboard. But how long does this like honeymoon stage last for them? Can they keep it all the way through all of the rounds? And can they hold on to their leaderboard standings today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to see a nice plane path right out of the gate today, nice and easy all the way across the middle of the map. A lot of options here for teams. Now, yesterday we did see established drop areas, and I imagine we're going to see the same today. So for those teams that have had the ability to kind of get into a spot that's kind of comfortable for them. I guess the story for me, at least, is Honey Badger Nation. Obviously, day 1 is always kind of the pace set for the tournament. It doesn't always stay that way. Consistency is key. Do you think Honey Badger Nation is going to be able to keep it going through day number 2?
They had a very strong performance. We've seen them really not be afraid to take fights. That's usually whenever an unsigned team kind of works their way through the qualifiers, they tend to be slightly afraid. Honey Badger Nation does not have that fear. They will come out, they'll take the shots if they think they've got it. Specifically Fast Rail, we've seen him playing really aggressive, not afraid to take down full teams by himself. So definitely somebody we're going to have to keep an eye on as this goes through. Drops are kind of pretty much what we were expecting as we saw from yesterday. Nothing too crazy on this. The one thing to note is based off the plane path, it looks like it was a little hard for our military base island guys to get over there, but a slight change-up looks like it's coming over here from McCoy and the rest of his guys. They're actually having to land on the outskirts. Milta was kind of their home, so we're seeing that they're dropping down here. They're going to have to make the run over to Milta, and the first circle has just popped. And it's actually over next to Georgia Pool. So they're going to have to run over here, loot real quick, find a vehicle, and then hightail it back over into the safe circle.
Absolutely. So for Ghost having to go to Milta, they were likely looking for vehicles. You saw McCoy just a moment ago, long dropping to find himself a vehicle, but no one seems to have found one. They're all on foot right now, running to Milta, and this is the type of situation that can make your early game a little bit more difficult. Is when you have to start your loot phase late rather, and then have to potentially leave late as well to get to the first play zone.
Well, we've all had that. You know, you drop down, you go to a place that you do the call from the plane, you land, and all of a sudden you see the circle on the entire other side of the map, and it's just, oh man.
Yep, nothing
Loot
to do.
quickly, turn around, gotta go. Now, for the guys that opted into going over near that Georgia Pool area, that's gonna really pay off for them. Like we know Tempo Storm loves to do that trash looting around Gatka where they all separate out. Half of them are actually going to be inside of that circle already. The guys in Yasnaya in that area don't have too far to go, but we actually don't have a lot of teams that are going to be inside of the safe circle. Now, over here running with Trigger Happy. This is one of the community's favorite teams. A lot of people are keeping an eye on them. These guys have started off. They were part of the original community as they come through here. This is actually their first LAN that they managed to qualify for. They've always been playing in the online leagues. You know that they're excited to be here.
Well, we did actually run it. I mean, this is not particularly pertinent to PUBG, but we all went to Universal Studios yesterday. We did run into Trigger Happy and their squad there. All really nice guys. And luckily for them, they were able to get onto the Waterworld ride, which unfortunately, due to delays from Matrim, we were not able to do. I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset.
Well, we're gonna we're going to listen in on Trigger Happy's
Hopefully they're talking about
comms
how sweet Waterworld
and how
is.
it goes through here. So let's pop over with Machine Gunner and team.
You didn't get what I did there, Shredded? About making my way downtown?
Walking fast.
Faces pass.
And
I'm homebound. Drop the beat. Drop the beat. Another
Wow.
6x.
Wow.
That's some
That's
synergy.
really
you.
exciting. Between
And I
singing and
need you.
talking about scopes on the
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
ground, this is that's really magical.
I won. Actually, you wonder why we're in 18th place. It's probably because we have our comms as singing Vanessa Carlton.
And there you go. Now you know why there's some community favorites right there.
Amazing. That was perfect. Awesome. Trigger happy Vanessa Carlton hopefully guides you to victory today. That's perfect. Actually checking in with Honey Badger Nation, they are in Novo. They do arguably have the longest trek to the first play zone, and we can already see actually Space Station Gaming has changed it up a little bit. Normally going down towards that Ferry Pier area, they've decided to land more central and trash lead. I'm not sure if that was just a symptom of the plane path and if they're just trying to keep it safe, but Smurf already headed into the center.
Well, one thing to note about Honey Badger Nation, they've kind of gotten control over the Novo area. That's where Nova tends to drop quite a bit. It looks like they've kind of forced a lot of these teams out of their spot. Most squads actually don't like going towards military base because it's so hard to get out of. We have 2 squads. That's where they always go. Honey Badger Nation has gotten control over Novo, and we've got God Squad that always loves to go to military base proper. Really net up on that loot and move out.
We'll play what's in front of us.
No doubt. So we're actually, I think we're just hearing, that is Fast Rail chatting to his team. But the one thing that's really interesting about this initial circle is the density that's going to occur around that Georgia Pole area. We've seen this in the past where a lot of teams will crash middle, try and get the best compound available. But when you're in a big city like Georgia Pole, you start to lose track of who's around you. And if you happen to be there first, even though you have the good position, you kind of lose track of who's arriving in town and where they're setting up. So you can get surprised by teams if you're not careful.
There's just a building density over there. Sure, you can take a couple of shots and scare somebody away, usually when you're trying to hold a building complex, but when you're trying to hold a whole city, you can't really defend something like Georgia Pole and keep 80 people out of it. Even if you take a couple of shots at them, they're just going to curve around and go to a different building complex. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of these teams actually decide to go into Georgia Pole, maybe try to make a foothold there.
No
doubt. So as far as the transition idea is concerned, the amount of choke points that you can typically hold, you can see C9 holding on to one just a little bit further down by Georgia Pole here, and I'm interested to see who is going to be able to maybe set up in that area and try and hold on to that, because that's going to allow them to put a lot of pressure coming into that Georgia Pole area.
Well, also Crates area that we're looking at right now can be fairly defendable. Actually, quick glance over. That's Honey Badger Nation still down in Nova. I thought we popped over to Crates for just a second. But we are actually starting to see a lot of the teams start their migration phases now. You can see Optics making their way over. They already were in Rajak. Looks like they want to push in a little bit. We saw a lot of centering strategies coming in yesterday. Everybody was really die-hard on center with a couple of teams playing on these outlier positions. Kind of curious if we're going to see that go through, specifically in this area, because we have that river that's coming right through the middle of the circle, right through Georgia Pole, goes all the way over to the Yasnaya area. That's going to make a lot of little mini bridge camp possibilities pop up as these guys either transition late or have to reposition in the next couple of circles.
United, a team sitting currently in 3rd place, having a win yesterday. A team that has had some changes as well as some struggles on land in the past, but they seem to be kind of coming together, at least at the end of yesterday. They were a little passive to start the day, but started getting more aggressive and playing the position a lot better, playing their position a lot better. And we are seeing now the initial transition as we follow United headed towards that first circle. That density outside of Georgia Pole actually getting a little higher than what we would have expected.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we have so many teams that are pushing over into that northern area. That's the gamble that comes into play, specifically with the river. You take that gambit. Okay, is it going to be north of the river? Is it going to be south of the river? And it looks like all the teams yesterday, if we remember, Dignitas pretty much had control over the entire northern section of the map. I'm willing to bet everybody went back and watched VODs, and they're thinking, oh, let's go to the northern area because nobody's been up there. Well, now it's kind of one of those moments where everybody's watched the VODs, and it's going to potentially come back and bite them because they're all going to end up stacking in the same spot.
Absolutely. And now we see Gangstar as a team team that has had some struggles through day number 1. They are going to be setting up along the hillside just to the north of that Georgia Pool area. Dignitas around the same. They're actually really close to the coast. And since they start their game typically in the northern half of the map, we're going to see them with the advantage, at least from audio and visual information, as they're actually getting closer and closer to Optic, who has been taking fire around this area. So we'll see if Dignitas wants to spring the first trap of this game.
All around these hillside locations, you can have a lot of interesting skirmishes pop up. You've got the trees, you've got the little divots. See, back behind them, there's that open field. Most of these teams are going to opt into playing along the hillside because you can kind of crest up, take a couple of shots, and peek back down. Really comes down to who gets information on who first. And it looks like Dignitas is aware of where Baja is. You can see that they keep repositioning back and forth. They're aware that somebody's around them. They're just trying to get information on where everybody is before you take that first shot because it's so risky.
No doubt, and they have the opportunity to do some serious damage to Optic, who is not aware of their presence. But they look like they're going to want to back this off. I don't know if they're ready to try and take this fight. I think they're concerned about sight lines, about who could potentially see them. And to be fair, they may not have spotted Optic just yet either. So they might be aware someone's in the area just based on the gunshots, but couldn't find any visual information.
That's one of the problems that Dig was having yesterday. Whenever they would come up, they'd see somebody, they'd take the shots, give away their position, and then third parties would just come in all over on top of them, tear them apart, and they lose that good standing position that they'd fought so hard to claim early. So I think that they're going to lean back into a little bit more of information gathering as far as day 2 goes and kind of learn from their mistakes. And here we go. We've got a couple of shots coming up from Dig. They had to take those shots. Both of them got line of sight on top of each other, now doing a little bit of retreat, doing markings. It's going to be Team Gates that they actually unload on first.
Absolutely, and we are going to see very shortly how Dignitas is going to manage this first engagement. They did see Team Gates come up in their vehicles. They heard them drive by, and landing those first few shots has now alerted them to their presence. And they're also seeing FlyQuest as well. So for now, Dignitas in a very good spot to start taking a lot of shots, teams in transition.
That was an interesting reposition coming out from Valiate, who just cut out and around them. Remember that Dignitas had information on Optic that was to the south. So with that, they were taking a couple of shots back and forth on them. Looks like Optic is going for a long flank out and around them, so you can see all three of the teams. Optic's finally reunited together. Gates is pulling back out and away towards the Georgia Pool area. It looks like Dignitas is making their way a little bit more towards the north.
Yeah, this early game skirmish, not really an ideal situation for any of these teams, a little bit cautious. So for now, the way that Optic has been set up, they're at the low ground position between Dignitas and Team Gates. They have to be careful not to get into a situation where they have to rotate around this hill, as Team Gates and Dignitas could both take fire at them. So we're going to see the circle change here very shortly. Ghost arriving late on scene along with Nova, expected considering how far away they were from the play zone.
Yeah, if you look on the map right now, whenever we pull it back out and away, that we actually have Ghost doing a long flank around the outside, actually going through Yasnaya, playing outside the blue, and they're just now making their foothold in. You can see Venerated's coming on the outside of there. We've got McCoy coming up back behind it. Nova's coming in as well. Locknarm's way back behind them. Everybody's going to get their foothold in, but there's so many people that are in this northern area. I'm kind of surprised by that. You'd think that there'd be a couple of guys that were leaning more towards the southern part of the circle.
No doubt, and we can see now that pressure starting to mount around the around where Totality is coming in. E United is there as well as Motivate, and we will see the circle shift further in towards the Georgia Pole Bay. So now all these teams moving towards Zarki, they're going to have to decide, do they want to stay in that Georgia Pole safe zone area, or do they want to kind of get out and find a hilltop hold? Optic has found themselves in now a similar position that Dignitas did, and Valiate also in transition with Dignitas, so no fire happening just yet, but this transition crunch is coming.
Yeah, if you look at the map right now, everybody has already hopped in their vehicles. Nobody was expecting a shift such as this. Optic's already taken some shots over at Dignitas. Everybody's got to push over into the Zarki area because it's predominantly running right up beside of them. Dignitas Adam just gets taken down. Was not expecting anybody behind those trees. That's what happens whenever you have an odd transition with the circle like this.
I think he was more so going for the roadkill there and just got turned on by Bahawaka and Valiate, both picking up shots there. So that's a nice initial kill. And now that's not done, as E United also coming past. Venerated from Ghost has been taken down, and E United has to completely veer off course. So that is now Motivate and Ghost getting tangled up in transition. You can see with all this water currently in the play zone, it's going to be a lot of landmass grabbing happening here in Totality, and that edge of the play zone is starting to light up.
Motivate has kind of set themselves up in a gatekeeping position. They're now taking shots over at FlyQuest. All these teams that transition early found their little cubby. They're now turning around and firing at everybody that's trying to come through this area. Nobody wanted to go to the Georgia Pool area because they thought that was where it was going to be really hot. Vehicles are just going down everywhere, as you can see Valiant having to dodge the car after he gets the down that was coming towards towards the direction.
So for FlyQuest, that's something being finished off, and Valiant picking up his second kill of this game. Motivate there as well. There is a lot of teams fighting here. United has also come to a stop. Energy arriving on scene with their vehicles as well. FlyQuest now trading with Optic. Optic very active here, and you can see the intensity from Valiant trying to get as much information as possible, and all of this transition has completely gone awry for most of these teams.
Optic was having to make a foot transition whenever everybody came in with vehicles. There are so many people condensed. Look on the map right now. We've got Nova that's caught in a crossfire between 3 different squads. Optic is separated to 3 different corners around this. It's just squad taking shot after shot at each other, and you can see the kill feed shows that. All these squads are caught in such an early skirmish. Usually we don't see this type of violence for another circle or two.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a matter of the plane path plus the circle combination, and we see Energy get eliminated first right out of the gate, so that is going to be a big issue for them. Coming into a day that they needed to really perform, but that top half of the zone, God Squad and C9 are trading blows as well as Tempo Storm.
But look, Optic, they have a guy right in between them on the minimap. Valiant's coming back over, running in between them. Is he going to see Locknarb there?
No.
Is Locknarb going to take any shots? That like rush right by him. Locknarb just pops up and takes down Valiant. Right next to him is going to be Baja.
Can he save him?
Locknarb goes down. So that means that Baja should be able to make it over here.
Baja's down too.
Oh my God, he got third-partied off to the side.
So Dignitas has been, I think, the crux of this entire engagement. You can see they've taken a decent position and have been firing down on everybody. Dignitas not allowing any real room to move right now. So now Locknarb and Valiant sitting next to each other. I wonder what they're saying.
This is, yeah, you know, it's an awkward situation when you like crawl next to each other. It's like, why were you even in this bush, man? Like, how did this end up happening? So they're going to be crawling out here. I don't know if Hetcher can come over here. It's too risky at this point. He's the last person that's standing on his team. Richie's actually going to make his way over here and come try to rescue Locknarb.
He made it over there.
And so he took a lot of damage, but I think he might be able to get this res up.
I think that they're going to have to try and smoke and get away from the watchful eyes of Dignitas, who've been basically spoiling this entire situation for them. Locknarb not bleeding out too quickly, but he can be saved. But they are taking a huge risk. Richie made that vehicle push through several teams. Heroic move on his part. Will it be able to pay off?
Popping over here with Dignitas, and you can see this position that they're playing in. They've dropped their cars down inside the divot to protect them. They're just stepping up and peeking. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Whenever you have confidence inside of your shots, opt away from buildings and just step up and take shots. Whenever you have full 360 degrees that you can fire in from one of these divots, just take it and get whatever you can. Every single kill is 15 points. That is massive inside of this tournament, so you want to go as bloodthirsty as you conceivably can.
So Dignitas did lose Adam on rotation, but they have now translated that rotation into a very good spot. We have seen now more teams opting to use their vehicles to just get away from this pressure point at the top of the map. And for teams like C9 and Ghost specifically, they're kind of trapped on the coastline. And even teams that have arrived later now benefiting of not having run into that horrible mess on the top end of the play zone.
We just saw that tragedy that happened with Optic a second ago. Hypoc actually managed to get the res, so they were back up to 2. Hetcher was riding over with Hypoc as they were doing the hard push over into Georgia Pool area and lost one. So Optic is now down to just 1 player. They did manage to get into a safe zone, though. But all these guys that now opted around the Zarky area, I think we're just going to see full-on urban combat. I don't know where else the circle can go at this point. Everybody looks like they're being slowly forced into Georgia Pool.
Absolutely. Now, with the Georgia Pool Bay being such an issue here, we can actually see God Squad arriving on the bottom as well as Dignitas continues to take shots at United. United has decent cover here. They have their vehicle set up. They did arrive first. Don't have the sight that Dignitas does, but United playing their position quite well so far. They are just inside the play zone. I think edge play is going to be the key here.
Well, we've talked about this several times, Moses. It seems like this is just a defining example on why transition and movement and getting to a spot early and claiming it is so key inside of competitive PUBG. You want to make sure that you get to the spot that you feel you can control best. We actually have Space Station Gaming that's starting to do a push on Totality, but they did see it. Lost does spin over and get it down onto Vexel. Interesting to see how these guys line up on each other.
So we have seen the initial down come onto Vexel, and the nades actually come out as well. So that's Los HD finishing off Vexel. Now it's going to be up to a 3 strong Space Station Gaming. Do they want to keep this going? The circle is on the way. We've seen this issue from Totality in the past. They're committed to a fight on the edge of the play zone, and now they're caught out by the zone as well as the players they're fighting. They're forced into a rotation with little planning. Is this going to go south again for Totality here?
They're just really held out right now. They've got Gangstars that's taking shots at Space Station Gaming back behind them. Totality's opted in their vehicles and going out and around, but they still have yet to make it inside the safe circle. The blue is collapsing down behind them. You can see it's right on their heels as they're running over and through. Team Gates is still holding their position that they're at. They've got their nice little vehicle fort that's in position. Ghost still driving around on the outside of it. They've taken a lot of casualties early as well.
Yeah, McCoy's, I think, stuck in the water as well. It looks like he's on the coastline. So only Caden and McCoy, I believe, are left unless they're split even harder. But that Georgia Pole area has begun to fill up with teams, but they have no reason to engage anybody. Optic going full defensive, also crashing in. Wildcard on scene, but now it's all about those edge teams out in the field. What's going to happen with this next shift? Will the bank on Georgia Pole pay off?
And I think that's the big question at this point. A lot of the Georgia Pool teams haven't necessarily had to fight each other too much. They're still 4-man strong. These guys have been playing around the hills and on these outskirts. They've taken a casualty here or there, and you know that they've had to burn through some meds, maybe lost some armor or some helmets. So they're definitely going to have to try to find something. They've got to get some kills to help propel them into these later rounds, because if we end up going towards Georgia Pool, that's going to be really hard for all these guys that have been having to take all these firefights, fighting a fresh, brand new 4-man squad that hasn't had to do much yet.
And we have seen the circle shift away from the Georgia Pole Bay. It still includes most of North George, but Space Station Gaming pushing on the rear of Totality, looking to try and restart this fight. Totality having backed off. Space Station Gaming not willing to let their down comrade go unpunished. They are looking now to see if they can spot out any movement. You can see H1 jumping around, looking to see if he can find the movement from Totality. He's going to be spotting them very, very soon. They're nearly right on top of each other. The shots ring out.
Takes the shots. Looks like he's going to get the down onto one of them. Spins back around. D-Master actually does get knocked in this.
Gangstars.
H1 has to drop down, but this is a this is actually 3 squads that are all fighting each other right now. There's a lot of casualties that have come out. Loss is trying to crawl his way back over. Taro is now having to look back a different direction, but Gangstars is just peppering bullets into the outside of Totality. They now have dropped back into their building, so that's going to force Gangstars to look back up towards Space Station Gaming, which is what they do not want to have happen right now, as the blue is now starting to condense down again. You can see just forcing them to run on the outside of this.
So they don't have a long distance to cover. It looks like Space Station Gaming is going to back this one off. The flank did cost them another player, so there was nothing to be done there. It looks like Gangstar is going to play the spoiler on that plan. Totality did also take 2 casualties, so these teams have been brawling, and it is costing them here in the mid-game.
Space Station has to make their way down this hillside into what they know as a kill box, and it's very dangerous to run downhill because you have a couple of those problems where you can't necessarily have the best sight lines due to how all the trees post up.
Oh, look at this.
Right next to Gangstars, we've got Cloud9. If Nitrogen peeks over the top of it, he does get caught out and gets instantly dropped. You can see the rest of the guys from Cloud9 looking back over there. They know that there's a squad.
He turns
lines
back
up
on
another
him.
shot, gets 2 of them down. Gonna follow up with a grenade to try to get the instant kill. Looks like Teflon's trying to go for a side flank over there, trying to get a position up on it, but Cloud9 is really defended at this moment.
They keep turning their backs on Cloud9. That's 2 down now for Gangstars. Nitrogen maybe looking to be finished here by Cloud9, who is now swarming Space Station Gaming, also coming back this way. Nitrogen Teflon and Daz having to back off. They're going to be running right into Space Station Gaming. They're getting pinched here, and this is what happens if you try and start a fight without really being cohesive as a team.
Yeah, you can see that Gangstars have been caught in a lot of those fights like we were talking about. They just already had to use a lot of their resources. They just crest up on top of a hill. There's a fresh squad sitting there that just pounced right on top of them, did a lot of damage, got 2 kills on it, and they're still hard pushing this. They know that they've got the damage. They don't know where the next circle is going to pop up. Now Gangstars is getting shot from so many different angles as they're just being forced out and forward. Cloud9's up on top of this hill and just spraying down into everybody. You can see Gangstars Teflon taking a lot of damage from a good shot.
That's Frolicker landing the Car 98 shot with Moody following up with the M16, and now it's just Daz left standing, and that is going to be it for Gangstars, eliminated here in 16th place. Cloud9 now having to deal with a pressing Space Station Gaming as well, but Dignitas still using this divot position. They're now receiving pressure from United.
You can see this has been kind of an ongoing fight. You can see that the cars are on fire now. Their vehicle forts are starting to slowly fall apart. They still do have 1 vehicle that they can use. Meanwhile, Dignitas still playing inside that little divot. All their vehicles are protected. They're good if they need to do another transition. You can see they keep kind of cresting up over there, taking a couple of shots. United's taking some very long-range shots over at those guys on the hill where we were just watching that last fight. Looks like Motivate is coming over in that general direction.
You can see McCoy running it through the top portion of that shot where he's just trying to find a way into the zone. Totality still trying to figure out what they're going to do at that top portion of the play zone, where you can see now the circle is about to shift once again. Dignitas has been playing their divot position quite well, but now for all of these teams in Georgia Bowl, is this now the time where they're going to have to move out? We'll find out quite shortly, but that's the issue, is the transition out of Georgia Bowl. Is this going to be a problem for them?
And look at this. We can already see Slime Squad, which was the original controlling point inside of Georgia Pool. They've shifted out and now can take shots at anybody that has to push this direction. But no, it's going to stay on Georgia Pool. It's all the guys that are out in the fields that are now going to have to make their way in. All these guys that have been caught in these long-range fights, they all know where each other are. This is going to be so hard to transition out of. Finally, you can see Team Gates is getting spotted out by Cloud9. They still holding that high ground position. They're making everybody's life so problematic right now.
So we can see this hill that we're just showing now with Cloud9 occupying it. This is going to be a very important point to hold. Cloud9 is going to be able to use this vision to prevent any teams from getting out of Georgia Bowl if that is going to be the issue. But it's now going to be managing the sightlines onto their position as well. You can see all these teams having to shift into this field is going to be super problematic because vehicles now are just not viable.
And look at this. The guys from Totality are just bouncing from spot to spot. Team Gates comes rolling out and forward, but it's going to be the guys from E United to take some shots. So Motivate's actually in the back of it. You can see Team Gates was really focused on Motivate, so they had to spin back around. We're over here with Taro now, who's doing this slow creep up. You can see all of these squads that are out in front of him. Team Gates just right on the outskirts of this. Over here now with Cloud9, they have line of sight down on Team Gates, but they have to move from their high ground position. So I wouldn't be surprised if they play right along the edge. They can hear the shots.
They can see Totality moving out in the field. Cloud9, the shots ring out. Space Station Gaming also attacking Totality, who waited just a little bit too long and have no vehicle cover. As Smithy is down and eliminated, only Taro is left. So for Totality, another tough round, but this top portion of the play zone is occupied by 4 or 5 teams now, and there's no real cover for them.
Yeah, they're playing around this little ridge right next to the road, so it's you kind of crest up and you can take a couple of shots. Dignitas can be a little bit weak from their backside, so that's why they keep looking over towards E United. Taro is right over there, right on top of Team Gates, but Motivate's Inferno is actually pushing right up on top of them. This is going to be a pretty dangerous little area, as you can see on what we're looking at right now. That little square box off to the left side is going to be Motivate that's starting to make their way into that 3-man squad fight.
So for E United, I've actually been impressed with their ability to stay in the fight but out of harm's way. They now take down and finished McCoy from Ghost. I believe it's only Caden left from Ghost. But yes, you can see all these guys prone in bushes. This is the issue with no cover. They have to be very, very passive. Taro just trying to play for placement. There's still 15 teams remaining.
Yeah, it's so important for all of these solos to try to survive for as long as they possibly can right now. Naturally, kills are worth a lot, but you want those placement points. So the squads are trying to get these finalized kills, but they just can't get that last guy that managed to sneak out and away. Space Station Gaming now finally getting caught out. H1, I think, is just hiding around the outside of that, right next to the
Moody knows where he is. They just know that there's no line of sight. Now, instead of tunneling onto this one last player, I think Cloud9 is exposing themselves just a little too much on the hillside there, so they have to be careful. But there is a jumble of stuck players. There's nothing they can do. Too many eyes from Cloud9, too much pressure from the teams around them. For these 3 teams, Team Gates, Motivate, and the last man standing from Totality, Interrogate, they now have to move, and that circle has shifted primarily away from Georgia Bowl and again into this open field.
There's still a little bit of Georgia Pool that you can see kind of where Honey Badger
yeah, and that's an unfortunate, and you can see a rotation.
I don't fucking know, man.
All right, so
live audio, ladies and gentlemen.
I think we've all had that happen, and the exact same comments happen inside of our comms when we've been running through. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I really love that, regardless of language chosen. You can see the tenseness that comes along with these rotation phases, and for a team like Energy, when it starts to come apart from you, the frustration comes. But for K-Mine and Penta, now having to choose the shack as Wooly is finished off, unfortunate start for them. Again, aggression not translating into success.
They did such a great job. They got the foothold they wanted. They were taking the shots, and they did a great job of scaring everybody out and away from them. You know, we saw them get the kills on the Cloud9, forcing them out and away. But then the problem is they decided to move, and they've already forced everybody around them into all the positions that they wanted to transition to, and they were just driving around in circles, stuck out inside of there. Meanwhile, Honey Badger Nation's just kind of cutting out and through
around.
like, hey, thanks, NRG. You took all the bullets for us, guys. We're just going to go take where you were just at.
And Avalier taking a down there from his teammate Hetro. United in an interesting spot here. They do have the flexibility to take a lot of shots here. I really like this spot from them. For now, I guess we'll see as this first circle shifts. Again, seeing Ghost arriving late. Space Station Gaming actually beating them there from Kameshki.
Well, we've been seeing that with Ghost. I'm thinking they're fully aware that shooting is their Primarch skill. They know that they can get the kills if they can survive to the stage. So they've opted into a very passive movement. They're playing outside the blue. They want to come in late. But the problem is they keep choosing a path where 3 teams have already crashed. You know, they're going where they think is most logical. The other teams are already thinking is most logical. And then they're just coming in late with blue damage and then just getting torn apart by the squads that are in a position.
No doubt. And now we can see again that center density right around this area is just very, very, it's going to be a situation now where teams are just going to be taking shots at each other, but this shift is going to dictate what happens next.
And it's going to be so hard for a lot of these teams to untangle themselves because you can see they're all within a couple of 100 meters of each other. A lot of their vehicles are already taking damage. We were seeing tires being popped everywhere in that last transition. So now it's about the resources that they have remaining at this stage. What part of the map are they going to have to be forced into? And actually, we already assume that's going to be a little bit towards the north, probably around the GAC area. And no, it's not. It's a hard shift west. That's going to be so many of these teams having to reposition at the direct time. Really, only Tempo Storm, the guys that are so comfortable playing around this area, they opted into Quarry in a high ground position, and everybody has to come to them and Slime Squad.
Absolutely. So Slime Squad and Tempo Storm in a great spot here. Now there's going to be a massive amount of pressure along this right side of the play zone. There's going to be a ton of transitions already happening. Primorsk there as well. Wildcard moving out and away. So now I believe Tempo Storm has probably the best overall spot in this current play zone, but they don't have 4 guns lined up here. As Motivate transitioning past them, we'll see if they can pick up their first kills here.
Trying to line up the shots on top of them. Going to go a little bit wide, but they're going to get a second chance on Motivate as they come back right next to him. You can see just firing down off of this hillside, not quite connecting with the shots and going to force Motivate out and away.
Oh no,
But
Cloud9.
Cloud9 runs into the wrong squad as Wildcard finally comes alive and gets some shots and gets some kills on top of this. There are so many squads coming in the southern area over here. Space Station Gaming following behind Orbits. EU United's coming off over there. We've got Nova that's trying to make their way back down to their home from Morsk over there, trying to see if they can get something out of this. Wildcard managed to finally get their foothold, get their positioning. All the squads opted into a southern push out and around and now forced on top of the coast.
This is a situation where playing the edge of the circle is probably going to be the preference as EU United continuing to stay active. They are taking down Orbit in transition. So now EU United and the Slime Squad very, very active here. I would like to see them essentially try and entrench, which clearly they have in this one very important building very near the center of the play zone.
Look in the northern area of the circle. We've got the guys from Optic that have 3 different squads they're trying to push down on top of them. Totality had to repush. They're having to shift back out off of their path that they're trying to come along. Team Gates is now coming down there, and off in the distance, it's going to be Ghost making their same path over there. We're watching right now the guys from Wildcard. They're taking pot shots on anybody as they crest the top of that hill.
No doubt. For Wildcard, this is now for their opportunity to get some kills, essentially. But again, to my spread from his team, you can see the rest of Wildcard in the compound below. To my opting to try and snipe here, Locknarb and Nova getting into it with Honey Badger Nation. Why in this instance is Tumai so far from the rest of his team?
I think he's just trying to play for information at this stage. You can see that he's playing around this dip, and we know that a lot of people are going to be pushing in here. So you can almost provide a little bit of an outside perspective on it, make sure that any guys that might try to crash, because you have to assume most of these guys are going to try for a reposition on the outside of it. Nova's still got a little bit of control over there, but Honey Badger Nation is right at their feet. So every time they try to step around and figure out who it is that's taking these sniper shots at him, Honey Badger Nation can just pop up and take those shots.
Really liking the positioning of Nova here as we...
Fire gets run over.
Unfortunate as Cover Fire finished off. Now Nova trying to get his bike to stand still for him. as Landoon does get it to go here. So for Honey Badger Nation and Orbit, I think they both ran into Nova independently. Wildcard there as well. I think Honey Badger Nation definitely getting the short end of that stick. Only Wick left standing.
And now we have a little bit more of that fight that's brewing up in the northern area as we have Ghost that's pushing hard into Totality. Got God Squad caught up in a little bit of a fight with FlyQuest in another part of the map. Optic is also right up on top of it. Totality Smithy getting the down and an insta kill onto McCoy.
Really liking the Optic and Dignitas positioning here. Interested to see, will Optic get aggressive? That's something that I think that they may have lost from day number 1 after they took that win. They haven't really been active here in game number 2, so of today, I should say. But for Dignitas, again, good positioning.
Yeah, we've got Dignitas always getting in that Primarch position, doing such a great job on getting inside of these fights, but everybody just always seems to know where he's at. So we've got Dignitas and Optic. They're kind of fighting anybody as they try to push in. We saw Ghost take that loss and have to push out and around. Finally, the guys from Nova playing the top of that hill. Looks like they got the down on the Timid that was right next to them. Circle is going to just continue pushing along this western coast as Optic and Dignitas now realize they are outside of the safe circle, hopping in their vehicles and just driving along, leisurely drive along the coastline.
Yeah,
there.
the beach route is safe for now, but they will be headed right towards Motivate and a transitioning Dignitas. This circle now starting to punish teams who are on the edge of the northern part of the play zone, especially Totality, again, finding themselves in a position to rotate late. Ghost arriving late as well, taking fire from Gangstars. FlyQuest and God Squad also engaging as we join Optic, landing on top of Dignitas.
Taking the shots, trying to line it up. They do get the down onto one of them, but it's a return down. Valiant's trying to play around the outside of this wall. He's playing around the UAZ. He knows where the members are. It's so risky to go for the res. They did get the down on the kill. Wookie Bookie could come around this corner at any given second, and that was just a perfect push by Valiant to avoid those shots right as soon as Wookie Bookie peeked. The rest of Optic is now crashed down back behind him, providing a little bit of cover for Hetro as he is bleeding out. He's now repositioned back behind the UAZ. You can see the guys are wanting to run over there, but Gustav has got that nice side flank on it. He can push, but it's so risky. Meanwhile, there's still an outside fight that's happening on this as the guys from Motivates are just taking some shots down on this. So we are going to do a quick listen in to the guys from Optic as they take this fight.
Oh, as Baja Waka does go down, really liking this setup from them.
They're wrapping the east side.
And so now he's looking up for the shots. Valiant does see him taking a couple of shots at the wall. Hypoc does get down inside of this. This is turning terrible for Optic.
So that's unfortunate for them. You can see the disappointment, and that's a wipe for them. So that's Optic eliminated, and you can see just the sadness on their faces, and really not a lot of communication happening from them during that situation. You got to wonder, is this a time where they're maybe shutting down?
It seemed like they were just kind of caught unawares. It seemed like they knew what was going on, but they just got pincered between two different teams. They made the full commit onto Dignitas, and it just didn't quite play out for him. Gustav with that beautiful back flank on there. Meanwhile, Nerf me please, he's just like, hey, if it's just going to keep pushing to the west coast, let's just go full on west coast. And he's found himself a rock to play off of over there.
No doubt. Now, checking in with Nova, still holding on to this hilltop position. They've kind of, man, that's a saturation. Not going to miss anything with that.
Got a little bit of saturation going on there.
It must hurt to like look at real colors after that. As you can see, Nova just pressuring everyone around them, not allowing any encroachment. And they're dead center.
Look at NRG, though. They have opted into going into a boat, and they're around on the outside of this. They're just letting everybody fight. They've got Pentalil and K-Mine left, and they're like, nah, you guys just do you. We're going to hang out over here. We'll join the party in a bit.
So for water. Yeah, I see it.
Are they confirming where they are?
It's like, water. Yeah, there's a lot of water around you guys. They're pulling out and getting out of there.
How did we get here? We're in the water. So for K-Mind and Penta, how are they going to make landfall here as Nova has the beach completely secured? Now it is Ghost and God Squad finally tangling up a little bit on the edges of the play zone. That northern half, they're still banking these teams on this water shifting out of the play zone, and we're about to see what happens.
What's really interesting, though, is, again, Tempo Storm is so comfortable in this area. They are not being too loud, but they're just shifting from complex to complex. They feel strong. Circle now goes over and favors them, and they are in such a great spot now.
Absolutely. So now these teams that have favored that northern portion, Totality finally getting something to go their way. We see Team Gates actually in the dead center, but Tempo Storm arguably with the best position.
little bit of a fight happening on the outside of his. Ghost does come alive. Looks like they're going to take down most of God Squad. I believe that might be the entirety of that squad finished off. But now as Ghost is kind of trying to crawl up over the quarry side of it, Tempo Storm is going to be able to get some line of sight on him. Meanwhile, Fear is going to be driving straight into where Team Gates is positioned at.
So now this is going to be a situation for Dignitas. They've been kind of moving around the edge of the play zone. Are they going to be able to do anything about Motivate? Maybe they're looking down to try and take that compound away from them, but Slime Squad has their sights trained on Totality. Dignitas, it's time to kind of put up or shut up, I believe.
Well, one of the other interesting things about this is we still have NRG driving around outside the boat, can't find anywhere to make landfall at. Circle's still forcing them out there. That I feel really bad for them. You know, it's a great idea.
NRG can't get in. They're
just held on the outside, just on the outside of the circle over there. We can't quite see them on the minimap at the direct time. Slime Squad guys look like they've gotten into a little bit of a comfortable position. Tempo Storm's kind of taking some shots at everybody as they're coming through. Dignitas did lose on Civil early, but that hasn't kind of changed their playstyle. They're not afraid to take these shots, get into these positions that they feel are really strong, and try to get the kills off of it.
So Slime Squad now finally taking a couple of shots at Totality, taking out Smithy. Tempo Storm holding out Ghost. Ghost relatively inactive here. They did get some kills onto God Squad, so now we're going to see, are they able to make their way into the play zone?
So we've got Microfry over here trying to get the res up onto them. They've got the smoke. Should be fairly safe, as we can see off in the distance. It's going to be the guys from Trigger Happy that are kind of pinned down inside of that shack. They can't peek out without the guys from Wildcard or Nova taking shots. So that's how United's kind of managed to get into this position. Taking a couple of pot shots back over towards Space Station Gaming is going to be Geis.
So for United, they have had a good spot so far. Space Station Gaming looking in their direction, but they've taken a couple of shots here, so I think that most teams are aware of where they're at. Now for Dignitas, this is a great little ridge to hold. Motivate has the compound just next to them. I think they're more interested in Orbit.
I mean, they're the closest threat to them, so I can understand why that would be. Specifically, Adam, his job is to look back over there, make sure that nobody from kind of pushes over into this direction. Meanwhile, Tempo Storm, just look up on top of this. They've got so much control of everything that's around them right now. This is such a strong position. As long as nobody can crest up over this hill and come down back behind them into this building complex, Zampa's sole role right now is to stop them and not let H-Win or any of these other guys push this direction.
I really like how this is forming up between United and Space Station Gaming, as Energy has made landfall.
They did it
and arrived with Motivate's compound. So this is now a situation. Can Energy get a foothold here just long enough to survive the initial push that this next shift is going to cause?
They still have to make it inside of the safe zone. Their positioning is not yet quite safe. They've got the shots. They're trying to line it up on the window. Blaze takes a lot of damage. K-Mind is going to have to try to get some shots off onto this. You can see the rest of the guys from Motivate trying to get into a little bit of a control area around them. They're going to have to push out and forward. Blue is probably about another 5 or 10 seconds behind them, and at this point, it really hurts. K-Mine looks like he finally saw exactly where one of them was. Got a little bit of a head peek, going back and forth, trying to connect the shots a little bit wide. K-Mine knows that he has to make this push, so he's just stepping out, trying to line up, hits it through the window. This is the opportunity that they needed. Now he's just got to figure out how he wants to play this. He doesn't know what building they're around. He's pushing over to the right side, praying that everybody's inside of there, because they know that they got a couple of shots onto Blaze. So this is great knowledge. Come out and around, let the res happen on the other side of it. Now they have control on one of them, so this is essentially a 2v3 because Zed is a hostage at this point.
So for Energy, they do have the foothold they needed, but now it is a 3v2 situation with all information on the side of Motivate. Can they execute? K-Mind and Penta, two top-tier players as far as fragging ability is concerned. Will they be able to displace Motivate as we see the circle shift further to the center, still favoring Tempo Storm and Team Gates?
Team Gates is playing around a nice angle there, but you can see it's starting to turn into a real bloodbath on top of this hill. Anytime somebody peeks up here, Space Station Gaming and United have been caught in a long fight. Pinto looks like they do finally get a couple of kills off onto this. On the outside of that fight we were just watching a second ago, it looks like you can see that Vegas is trying to come back over into this area, and it looks like he might actually be in a little bit of trouble over there.
So for United, they've managed to stave off the damage, as it looks like Energy is really taking it to Motivate on the edge of the circle. And now Nova is going to have to push off their hill, set up their vehicle compound. There's no other options for them. Tempo Storm is playing a great role as gatekeepers. You can see them in the top end of your screen. They have both Space Station and United held completely out of the zone.
Meanwhile, it's all about the transitions from all these teams that are on the outside. Dignitas opts into hopping into a vehicle. They're just going to hard drive through this. Meanwhile, NRG is still staying up and active around down Motivate. Looks like Gustav and the rest of his team are going to get into a good position on this, but NRG still under fire. Inferno's kind of trapped down back behind them. You can see K-Mine knows exactly where he is.
How did they get the zone on them? They have the zone on them now. Energy has taken essentially a full squad in a 2v4, having come off a boat. K-Mine doesn't even have a sight on his UMP, and they have almost eliminated Motivate, and they have the zone on them now, but they have to move. They have to move into their next position.
Looks like Dignitas was taking some pot shots over towards Motivate and really forced them to play back over there. Inferno's just laying down on the ground. He's just going to opt into meds at this point. NRG's just going to have to figure... Was that a smoking motorcycle that they're thinking about taking? Meanwhile, we've got our guys over here with E United. Right down below them is going to be Wildcard. You can see all the smokes that they're out right now. Shots are trying to go back and forth. Zampa has left his safety and is coming up right next to E United. Lines up some nice shots. Gets it down onto 1. It gets it down onto 2. That's going to be terrible for the guys in E United.
That is a classic Zampa. For those of you who have been following PUBG for a long time, Zampa will go out on a limb to get the frags he needs. He goes up and does a ton of damage to E United, destroying them out in the field, and now Wildcard has to move on to Tempo as well.
Look at this confidence. They had a controlled point, one of the sections of the map that everybody wants to play around inside of this building complex, and they're like, no, this fight's been going on too long. Let's step up, let's take it, let's get these kill points and retreat back, and it plays off so well for them.
Absolutely. Tempo Storm ran up, secured that hillside. That's something we see from teams like FaZe. They love to roll out and just clear out their area. Zampa playing that, and you can see he is kind of carrying the load frags-wise on Tempo Storm right now.
Well, that's always been his designated role. He's the guy that's going to go for the flank. He's the guy that's going to play it aggressive. He's going to be the guy that pushes out there. Meanwhile, the rest of the team's going to feed information, try to help him, try to distract so that way he can get into that spot that we just saw was so effective and just get those kills.
I'm still actually very impressed and kind of sad as to how Motivate allowed Energy to come in too strong and completely destroy them. Inferno is still up, but he is only playing for position now. 11 teams left standing, and that is
a lot of weakened teams over here right now. You can see
absolutely.
Dignitas is taking some casualties. Meanwhile, we've got Orbit that's in their position where they're at. Honey Badger Nation's just got eliminated. We got Motivates. Inferno somehow managed to get out of the blue and sneak up back behind the guys from NRG.
So for Team Gates, there you can hear them kind of chatting in the background about how they want to play this. They're in an interesting position. They're in the bowl around the swamp, which is going to be central in this particular next play zone. Nova and Wildcard getting position here to fight each other, however.
Looks like Wildcard's coming out. They seem to be aware of where they're going to be at. Shots are now coming out from the guys from Nova. I'm not sure that they were aware that position on second thought. You can see Richie's in a great spot to catch anybody right as soon as they go on the outside of it. Nade's going for a long-range drop there. Is it going to connect? I think it might roll a little bit to the outside. Actually, looks like a little bit of damage coming through. This is going really bad for the guys on Nova who took the first couple of shots. Finally, Tamai taking a lot of damage, trying to get over there and get to that res. Smokes are now trying to come out. Everybody's trying to push off of the smoke. Circle's now coming right on top of them. This is going to put so much pressure onto all these players. They have to go for reposition. Wildcard has a great lineup on it, and it's just shooting shot after shot. Locknarb goes down. Richie's under a lot of pressure right now. Tamai's just ready to pop up out of the smoke if he wants to. Richie's now taking the blue, and look at the chunk that's coming in on that.
Here comes Tumai. He's going for the finish, and he will get one. Now, Nova did vehicle split, so you see Landune and his teammate have moved a little bit further forward. Now, Wildcard, having gone for that push, put themselves in an interesting position. They have no cover, no vehicles. Nova still under fire. Tumai looking to finish this off. Landune is down. Nerf me the last man standing. And here's Penta going for a res on his teammate as Tumai is trying to get down Nerf. He's got almost no health.
But he's got a couple of people that are paying attention right where he is at. You can see that these guys want this. This is a lot more of the wild card that we see online. People feel really confident in the ones they cheer. They're not afraid to go and take these fights. Hard push in there. Team Gates still has control of that outside position, but you can see Energy's right on the side of this hill, and I think that they've spotted each other.
Energy does have the option to just completely decimate Wildcard, who's found themselves with no cover, having completed that, I mean, initially good push, but they didn't really plan ahead here, but they do have the numbers on Energy, and not to mention Inferno is lurking behind as well.
But you can see Tamai doesn't have that information. He doesn't know it's a two-man squad. That's why he's afraid to do this push. Smokes are out. They're not afraid to take a couple of long-range shots back over here. Circle's still going to condense down, and I don't think that shack is inside the safe zone all the way. But now NRG just lights it up, and they're trying to get this. They're taking the shots. They get the down on one of them. Titzalo goes down. K-Mine has near on no life, just trying to med inside of the smokes, praying that no random bullets connect. He does get the health up. Meanwhile, Maluk goes crazy. crazy, stepping on the outside of that Slime Squad's in a world of hurt.
Zampa pushing on the low side flank. He's cleaning this up. It's only Microstar left. He's going to peek out and shoot. He will take down Zampa. And he's actually 2 down. Dre's down. NQ's down as well.
That's a full wipe! What is going
God.
on with Slime Squad? That is 2 times in 2 different rounds we have seen them perform when under pressure.
Oh my God, that was insane. Microstar stepped out from behind and took down all of Tempo Storm, who were swarming, trying to finish them off. That was incredible.
That was absolutely insane. And now Dignitas is starting to come alive. You know that they've been playing on that outside position. They know they have to push down to Gates. Gates does have the control position. They do have control over the circle, but there are going to be so many people coming in for them. 5 teams still up and active, 12 people alive in total.
For Dignitas, they stepped up over that hill. They did take some shots at Energy, who are still, that's Trigger Happy holding on to the edge of the zone. Energy, unfortunately, eliminated after that long push through that field. Wildcard still hanging on as well, but now it's Dignitas holding that ridge on them. Wildcard just doesn't have a way into the zone.
See, Trigger Happy's Fear Me is way off in the distance, hiding inside of one of the breakable shacks. That's a rough life whenever you have to hide inside of one of those. You can see that Team Gates is in a good position until somebody crests the hill back behind them, and that's where 2 different squads could be approaching on. So as they start to condense down into this spot, Team Gates is firmly aware that they can hear the firefight that's happening, opting to leave the safety of the circle, and they're trying to pop on the outside of it so that way they can at least eliminate one of these squads so they just don't flank down the hill on them. And Echo should see Wookie Bookie any second now.
Exco does take down Wookie Bookie, and now it's Mortify looking for more. Adam down, and he's not moving at all as Team Gates pops up and eliminates Dignitas. Excellent aggression there. Microstar, the hero of the Tempo Storm fight, the last man standing, but now it's going to be essentially the last 2 remaining squads of Wildcard and Team Gates fighting each other here for the finish.
I think at this point we can say that the gates are firmly open on this. Wildcard's trying to go up on get this high ground position. Team Gates is just not letting it happen. Fear is back behind them though, so if he does opt into taking this fight, he can do so much damage to guys from Wildcard. Tamai tries to hit that shot, goes a little bit wide. He needs to connect onto it. Instead, Tamai takes the damage, retreats back on the outside of this. The last player from Slime Squad does manage to make it into the circle as well, very sneakily. So these 2 squads are lining up, pressuring up on top of each other. A lot of shots are going to go back and forth of them. Meanwhile, the solos can just pop up at any second and do so much damage. Uh-oh, Trifelli, I think you've been seeing Fear.
So the flash comes in, but now it's going to be Wildcard going at Team Gates. Team Gates gets the initial down and kill onto Tamai. That's the IGL eliminated. Now for Team Gates, they're backing off. The aggression not full yet. They're trying to recoup and essentially eliminate this flank from Wildcard.
Wildcard still trying to hold up on the outside of it. Trifelli does get the needed down. Trying to step out and around that. A lot of damage coming back from both of these squads. Finally, you can see that it looks like Team Gates starting to get some control over this fight. And so they do have that there, but there are still 3 teams up and alive as Fear Me is still hiding in a corner and Slime Squad's Microstar is still off in the distance.
He's got 6 kills, all of Tempo Storm among them. Fear Me holding on to this little shack. That's all he can do is just wait. He has secured a top 3 finish. And speaking of 3, Team Gates 3 strong, having only lost 1 in that fight with Wildcard. Now looking to take control of the zone and finish off this game.
Right now, Team Gates has complete and utter control. Really, it's going to come down to can either one of these solos inflict enough of damage to help the other one. Microstar has been on fire lately.
We've seen him do it.
So let's see if he can get these shots and connect up. They keep peeking back and forth and around.
One
he gets
down,
the down
one down.
onto one of them. Microstar is just going absolutely insane. Steps forward. He wants to get the kills onto this. Meanwhile, you know that the other solo has to hear this. He has to try to get into a position, try to get something on it. Microstar takes a lot of damage there, but he does afflict a little bit CeeLo.
Fear Me's coming.
Fear
Fear Me's
hears
coming.
it. He knows that this is his moment to strike if he's going to do it, and he can rain down the damage from on top. Meanwhile, Mortify's trying to go up, trying to get the res on Mossy. Microstar has given away his position, so it's so risky for him to do any form of peek, opting around, trying to go for the DRM, trying to hit the shots, and no, he just gets taken down. So now it's all onto Fear Me, but he has such a great position.
I really like this, but Fear Me, he's got no helmet. He's got half health. He's only on boost. He's going 3v1. He has the line of sight. The circle does damage to him. That's going to be a problem for him. 1 shot left remaining. This is going to be it, and that is Team Gates taking the game, and you can hear the cries from out in the arena. Wow.
They are on the complete opposite side of the arena from where we are, so you know that they have to be super excited right now. They are hype about this. Again, another team coming up, getting a win. It's just equal distribution across right now. Everybody's just getting a chance to get that win to come through there. I gotta say, that was an amazing round performance from so many different teams. Slime Squad's really impressing me. That's 2 team wipes they managed to collect.
Absolutely, and I mean on the back of MicroStars, I gotta say, Tempo Storm had that in hand. MicroStar was the last man standing. You can see they almost just relaxed and allow MicroStar to get 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. It happened so quick for Tempo Storm. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and they're proving the fact that they have to be a team you have to pay attention to.
Slime
they
Squad,
got 1 win already, and they did such a great job inside of that performance. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen inside the next round.
Absolutely. With that said, that's it for a very exciting game number 2 today, but let's kick it over to the analyst desk, see what they have to say.
Thank you so very much. And we are back here on the analyst desk. I am Poor Source, and joining me, of course, is Toffees and Mr. Cameron. 6 different games, 6 different victors. Yeah. They say there's no parity in NA.
It's exciting to see such an even spread. Yeah, we've had so many tournaments before where like one team's racking up 3 or 4 wins to start the thing out. This has been not only different teams, but like very different strategies, very different styles of play. Like really exciting.
Well, Team Gates coming in with that Game 2 on the day, Game 6 overall win. And, I got to say, I was pointing this out to you during the game. This is 2 games in a row now. Game 1, we saw Team Gates also got the center of the circle. Yep. It didn't pan out for them in that game, but in this game, they held it to perfection, and they were able to stay alive and keep 4 alive and managed to pick up all their kills at the end. Cam?
Yeah, I think the big difference is just noting the difference between what the center meant. And there are 2 drastically different circles as far as the terrain was. In the previous game, they were they ended up in the middle of multiple firing squads from different angles. On this one, it actually allowed them to avoid a lot of the conflict. Yeah. It was a lot of edge play, a lot of edge combat to get in. They could just stay safe and save all their resources until the final fight.
They basically became an island in the storm, right? Like they were in a crater. They were doing some really solid peeks, and essentially anytime somebody headed towards them, they'd peek out, they'd take a couple of shots, and you literally saw action sort of like break and just flow around them throughout that entire section. And then I think their primary threat was Tempo Storm, and MicroStar went ahead and took care of that for them.
Absolutely. Well, we can't. Even though we want to pay attention to the great performance by Team Gates, there were a couple of really crazy plays from that game. This first one we're going to look at is Wild Card pushing into Nova.
So this I wanted to see because of the strategy of it.
Oh, we got to listen in here.
You can listen to them make a call.
He's behind the tree still. He's behind the tree. One is knocked.
Alright, good. I'm healing.
There's still one more behind the sentry. One more behind the sentry.
Go together. See him.
Wait, Thomas. He's behind the smoke still. He needs to run.
Knocked. Where'd the bike go?
To the tree, I think.
Great awareness.
And what I loved about that is you saw 2 different styles. Nova was sort of hidden behind the tree. They're waiting for their chance to make a push. Wildcard got the knock, and then immediately said, go and go together. And that was huge because they took the aggressive stance. They managed to eliminate them. And then that whole approach to the hill that they had sort of sent the bike off to an escape pattern, was now theirs for the taking. So there's a lot to say about that. Sometimes when you get that knock, in fact, most times, aggression wins games.
Yeah.
Well, we got another replay as well. Got audio on this one.
Oh, good.
On top of this. So NRG versus C9.
In a great position. And speaking of which, we see NRG, a relatively new signed team as well, getting engaged with Cloud9 as we join Janark taking shots.
Nobody wants to hear Moses. We already heard him once. But look at this. Look at this is something that we've been seeing from NRG all tournament long. They have great communication. They're great shot selection, and their team play is just coming out in spades, but for whatever reason, they haven't been able to translate that into a win
And
yet.
Point this out real quick. We saw Zanark taking those shots, right? This is the difference between me and the pros, is the idea that he was there, he had it lined up, he was taking those shots, but he still kept bobbing and tipping to the side and making sure that he was still never, we get tunnel vision. These guys, they're always aware that someone else is taking shots at them at the same time.
Always keep your head moving. Yep. Keep your head on a swivel, am I right?
Absolutely.
Right, Cam?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, we are going to take you right now to an interview with Findable Carpet and a representative, I think that's CeeLo from Team Gates.
Yeah, you remembered me and him.
Yeah.
You're on a roll this time.
I know, I'm doing better.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we're good now. Congratulations, CeeLo. Congrats on your win, dude. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about that, the beginning side of your transition, right? So you had
like
the center of the circle for quite some time, and I guess talk us through that a little bit.
So it played out, we were in the north, and we were holding a shack by a hill, like by the northern part of the swamp, and then I think it was Totality that pushed us, so we decided to converge further south into the swamp, and we ended up getting the circle there. So our general plan is hold every cardinal possible. We want to hold a 360-degree visual and just hold our ground. Don't make stupid plays. No over extensions or anything like that. Like places where you can't get rezzed. And then that's about it for that.
So as far as just kind of transitioning towards that last fight for you guys, there were some stragglers, and you guys obviously didn't know. And seeing from our perspective, they were literally on opposite sides of the map. When you were making that final fight against that team, what information did you think you had, and what were you trying to figure out? And kind of just walk us through like the lack of knowledge you guys had.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened with Slime Squad, but we heard a lot of yelling. So we figured there was a squad over there actually. And it turned out that there was a squad to the other side where Wildcard was up the hill. So we go up there, we fight them. Turns out we wiped them. It was a good fight. And then our next plan of motion was thinking that there was a squad right on the other side, but it turned out there was a lot of stragglers because in that swamp there was a lot of easy places to hide. And overall, I mean, the communication was amazing. It would not have been that easy if the communication was that good. So a huge props to my team.
All right, well, thank you so much. Seriously, congratulations on your win. You guys deserved it. You earned it. We're going to go on a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just about 5 minutes, and we're going to get on with our next match of the day. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, to the PUBG Global Invitational. I'm Findable Carpet, and we are still going through the stories of our North American region. As a matter of fact, we have now just officially gone halfway through our day. We have 6 games down. The last victors, if you missed it, Team Gates actually got a win. So not a single repeat win yet, but that also means that we still have 6 more victors to determine potentially, unless some of these teams want to make themselves a double champion. But let's just get right back into it. I've got Poor Source. I like the relationship we're building. I think it's pretty good. I think that we got some good banter going on, Poor Source. Eventually you'll show up here. There you are.
Yeah, exactly. Here I am.
I like it.
I think we're building a great rapport. You're doing a great job out there on your pedestal.
It is lonely,
where you deserve to be.
It's quite lonely out here.
It is. It is. But you know what? I'll come out there and come give you a high five here in a minute, buddy. But right now, we are going to take you to our scoreboard after 6 games. Halfway through this tournament, where are we sitting? Where is your favorite team? Ghost Gaming still currently in first place.
Losing traction little by little, though. Slime and Honey Badger just coming after them. But that's the thing about Ghost. They're getting kills even when they don't get placement, and that's what's carrying them to the top.
Well, look at that. Slime Squad jumped all the way to 4th place after the last game, now all the way into 2nd. Team Gates with that win, jumping all the way to 4th. Apparently, if you're low on the leaderboard, you just need to win a game, get a couple of kills, and you're in 4th place.
Well, yeah, that just goes to show how important the points distribution is right now, how heavy it is at the top. You have consistent games. And I said this about Tempo Storm yesterday. I think if you get consistent games, but then 1 or 2 big ones, wins or seconds, then you can really just skyrocket up to the top, and Slime Squad really proved that.
Absolutely. We see some teams that we have were winners yesterday now kind of sliding down a little bit. Optic is currently sitting in 10th place. They cannot be happy with that performance, and other teams as well definitely need to start turning things around in this second half of this tournament, essentially.
Wins plus consistency, right? You need at least 1 chicken dinner, and you need to get the consistent finishes. That's what we're seeing. Is some of these teams who did get chicken dinners are also finishing in the bottom 15 on other games. You get teams like Tempo Storm, who I think we're 1 win away from them bouncing up into the top 2 even. So like that's what we're waiting for is FlyQuest, Tempo, these teams to come in and get their first chicken dinner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, going into this 3rd game, I know that there was a couple of teams that you wanted to kind of focus on in particular. Toffees, tell us a little bit about Space Station Gaming.
Space Station Gaming is a team that hasn't been performing the way that I hoped that they would. They traditionally, I mean, they've gotten LAN jitters at multiple events before, but if they get some circles, if they get a chance to sort of use their West Bridge camp a little bit, they get a chance to play their game, I think they've been forced to rotate harder than they're used to. And I think that they are kind of struggling a little bit with the LAN effect. These guys depend on good communication and a positive attitude. And I know that sounds really lame to say that, like, got to have a good PMA to win. But this is a team that really does need to have a good PMA to win. And their start to this weekend, I think, is really, really hurting them.
Yeah.
Well, they still have time to turn it around. We do have, like we said, 6 more games to make it through. Cameron, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Dignitas. Dignitas performing kind of inconsistently.
Yes, they are a very, very new roster. They've only been around for a couple of weeks, I think, and they are doing pretty good on a lot of the online leagues that they're doing. I think they ended DreamHack Austin as well in 7th place. Looking at that event, they had a very rough first day, but picked it up a lot on the 2nd day. And so even though they're currently in 8th right now, which isn't bad, could be a lot better, but we've seen some signs of life looking at the 2 games so far today compared to the previous games. If they can continue that, they can continue that habit of theirs of picking it up near the end. I really do expect to see them at the top. They're a very fun team to watch. They're definitely an NA team where they play looser than, say, our EU counterparts, but they're not quite as conservative as some of the deep teams like Tempo Storm.
So now that we've made it through 6 games and we've had a different winner for every game, I want to put this forth to you. Who do you think has the best chance of getting that 2nd win of our winners so far?
The best chance of 2nd win?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to go with Ghost, right? The idea that every time they're consistently coming into that top, even in the first game, when we saw them sort of in this weird outside rotation, falling in the water, whatever else happened, they crawled their way into the top 7 very, very carefully. So these guys, consistency, and they also have the frag skills to win 2v4s, which I don't know if some of the other teams do.
Do you agree, Cameron?
It's possible, but I think I'm going to put my money on Optic, actually. They've been struggling a lot these 2 days, but they have a system. They have Valiate calling for them. Unlike Ghost, who they're playing a little more free, if they can fall back on that system and the system works, then I think that they should be likely to win.
Yeah, Ghost still managing to rack up the points, even without the wins, still holding on to that first place with a death grip. But guys, we are loaded into Game 3. We are about to take you into the airplane, but first, let's take you to our casters, Mr. Matrim and Mr. WTF Moses. Guys, take it away.
I'm WTF Moses. I'm here with Matrim, and we have seen a lot of action. And this last game, really, I'm hoping that we can get that look at Slime Squad versus Tempo Storm. I should say Microstar versus Tempo Storm from that last game. That was an incredible moment. They have moved their way now into second place, and they are nipping at Ghost heels.
We have seen 2 strong clutch moments from 2 different players on Slime Squad, and that's something to take note of. We saw Snowbird with a strong 1v3 to get a win, and then we saw Microstar with a strong 1v3 to get themselves into what? I think it was 3rd place inside of last round. So solid performance coming out of them, and again, it's that consistency that the desk was just talking about. Constantly performing inside of there is the key way to get this, but I think that we have the plane up and going at the direct time, so let's do a quick look at that.
So, yes, and we will see another decent plane path, a lot of options here for these guys. And for Slime Squad, an unsigned team, something we've been talking about for a long time now is this talent is growing in the North American scene, and the interest is there to rise to the top. There's always something better for these guys, and right now they're putting it all on the line here. And I really like this playing path. A lot of easy dispersion here.
But look at this. We're seeing a little bit of a mix-up coming from Wildcard. Remember we were talking about how we were waiting to see a little bit more of the online Wildcard show up? Now they're making that push, and they're coming down to Military Base, one of the places that they're known to play around on the online events. You can tell they definitely feel a lot more comfortable after their performance inside of the last round instead of hanging down towards the bottom of the leaderboard, always getting eliminated in the first couple. Now they're like, okay, let's just go back to what works for us online and try to see how this functions.
No doubt. And they have opted to go down to the Military Base as we see the first circle reveal itself, and we are going all the way north.
Not even kind of north, like way north.
So far north, and again, we're seeing a situation in which the play zone is being basically split down the middle between water and land, and for now, Dignitas finally finding themselves in a good spot.
Whenever you see a circle like this, you know it's probably going to be over towards that Zarki area, Severny, or Stolber. That's your big gamble moment. Do you try to go get control over the Stolber area? Do you try to push over towards Dignitas? Because everybody at this point has to know Dignitas' home is Severny. They've been dropping there every single time. Meanwhile, Orbit looks like they're already opting out of pushing a little bit further away from their Georgia Pool area, trying to get a little bit more control, maybe find themselves a home early. Optic still in Rajak. That's where they want to have control points, but all these guys that dropped really far out now are going to have to do a hard shift with that much water inside the circle. Not only does it kind of suck because there's left land, but that means it's also a much longer transition to get to that safe zone.
So now that we have seen this circle reveal itself, there are few important choke points that have become apparent. The one just outside of Yasnaya, if we could take a quick look at the map, we do have a choke point set up right around here. That's a very important hold to have, as well as the multiple bridges all around this area. So we see Orbit is there, and we do have both Gangstars and Totality who will be coming out of this Yasnaya region. So it's going to be all a second portion of this is going to be the rotations coming around the top right of the play zone and trying to get around those choke points.
And specifically also just a little bit north of Yasnaya. There's that part right next to the lake, right next to where the hill is. A lot of teams like to transition through there. We've got Gangstars and Totality that are holed up inside of Yasnaya right now. This is their default draft point, so they're pretty good where they're at. Now it's going to be a matter of how long do they stay there? Do they opt out? Do they go for a better positioning on it? And how do all these other squads try to push into these different position points? Because it's just like you talked about. With those choke points, those bridges, those are going to be control points. Some of these bottom teams, they're really trying to make their way up. Some of these teams that are looking for a couple more kills, they can post up in some nice spots and really get some easy kills on transitions if these teams are not careful or if they transition way too late.
And the map pressure is going to be mounting around that southern area as Inferno letting everyone know where he's at in that buggy. And Slime Squad, now they're in South George. They're not going to have the hardest trek ever out of their current loot spot. But for Orbit, they could move center with that I guess, advantage with being so close to the play zone, or they could try and hold them out of South George on that Georgia Pole Bridge.
But look at what's going on. We've got Mystery that's pushing way up to the northern area of Stallbur. Meanwhile, the rest of Orbit are back at North George. It looks like he's trying to scout out, see what's going on. I mean, naturally, there's plenty of loot in North George, so this is an obvious choice that they're choosing to make right now to come over here and try to find where they consider to be the safest spot. Because the coastline, again, really strong now, but could be weaker later. So I'm kind of surprised to see some of these teams. I guess it might be just a little bit of tournament inexperience. You know, it's probably not going to end up right along the coastline.
No doubt, and it can't go further north anyway.
That's
so.
true. Well, so, you say this, and watch, the next circle is going to be like just subverting inside of it.
We did see an energy boating around and actually translating that into an impressive last game. A team that we've been. I mean, I have some experience. I've actually came on a few times in game, and I can tell you it didn't go that well. And I have been watching them. They play with such aggression, such poise when it comes to fighting, but it's the other little things. Maybe that's just an experience issue. They haven't been able to translate that out of the mid-game.
Well, we do have all of the transition phase starting to come through now as a lot of guys are starting to hop inside of their vehicles, trying to find that new spot that they're going to try to get some control over. We do have Motivate that is in Kameshki, going to pay off a little bit better for them this time around. Guys from Nova falling right back behind some of the other teams. This is kind of that dangerous transition point where everybody's trying to get a little bit of a read, because the dangerous part about this is, one, you have to figure out where the people are going to be shooting you from, but you also have to keep track of all these other cars that are maneuvering around you and going, okay, these guys are going west, so they're probably going to go here, and these guys are going over the east, so they're probably going to go there. So that way, if you have to do another transition, you have a rough idea on when somebody's at. And that's the hard part inside of this. As you can see, FlyQuest is just kind of maneuvering around. They're one of the early teams to move, but there's already squads posted up, and Dignitas is holding so many of these buildings outside of this area.
So looking at where Dignitas has decided to hold, they aren't staying together. I think that's something that would have been maybe it's a bit of a risk. I mean, there are a lot of hard pushes coming into the center of this play zone. Dignitas wanting to stay active and get some early kills here, but they're not playing as 4 right now. Wookie Bookie by himself. It looks like they're just trying to take control. Oh, as looks like FlyQuest is arriving on scene. Wookie Bookie by himself. This is the danger. He does take one from FlyQuest. He does take down something in the driver's seat there.
But he has to see everybody that's coming in, and naturally he called out. He's like, okay, guys, I finally have people that are pushing in towards me. Looks like reinforcements are coming right up on the hills. You can see Dignitas spread in multiple locations. Nade's going to go out. If this connects, this could be absolutely huge. Paradox is already down really low. Nade connects. FlyQuest in a world of hurt right now as everybody from Dignitas is just swarming around the outside of this building. You can see Steezy's holding that outside point. Sharky's still up on the outside as well, just cowering down behind it. Great grenade to finish this off, but Steezy turns around, and FlyQuest is eliminated so early.
Wow, that was just absolute domination. I was so worried for Wookie Bookie by himself, but he says, no need to worry. 3 kills for me. The grenades came flying, and FlyQuest gets taken out. Optic also in rotation. Man, for FlyQuest, again, another very tough loss.
They thought that they had the position. They came through. Dignitas was spread out, trying to control so much of the map, really try to force a fight. And I got to say, they capitalized on that. That was some great communication.
Really nice.
Great chance to come back through there. Teflon gets shot off in transition. That's going to start happening here and there as we go through. But again, Dignitas, that was just a solid play.
Absolutely. And the support came very quickly for how far apart they were. They are now holding the split between the compound and the warehouse as E United is getting involved here with Gangstar's Daz going down. I believe they got another one there as well. So United already with 2 kills. Now, something I wanted to talk about, Matrim, as we do see the first circle start to close. Optic, we came into their comms last game. We did not hear any talking in the middle of a team fight. That has got to be something that is very rare and couldn't have been helping them.
Well, different styles for different people. You know, like sometimes some of these players really like to concentrate and pay attention in. Optic is definitely known for being some of the more talkative players inside of the community. So I guess it's got to be a specific call to go inside of this and come in with as clean of comms as humanly possible. So that way they just have clear communication. Let Valiant kind of talk about what's going on. Let these guys play off of it. They're always opting into safety right now, which is kind of interesting. But they finally switched that up. They just have gone in. They're like, no, we're going center where we think the next circle is going to be at. And we're just going to take pot shots at everybody come around and try to control the areas that we think that the circle is going to come into instead of doing that late push.
No doubt. So for Optic, communication is key in any team environment. And now maybe that was just a lucky tune-in where we didn't see them at their best. But for Optic, they are sliding down the leaderboards, and that might be one of the reasons.
Well, it could also just be a little bit of discouragement. You can see that whenever they came in there, necessarily wasn't going the best for them. So at that point, there's not a lot of talk about this kind of.
They had that fight, I thought, as well. I mean, they did very well to defend, but all of a sudden it came apart for them, and it just happened like that.
Yeah.
They all deflated, no talking whatsoever. But again, that's one game out of 12. We'll see if Optic can bounce back.
I mean, they've already had a strong performance on day one. They just need to bounce back onto it. A lot of these teams that have been bouncing back today and coming in strong are things like Honey Badger Nation. They've been performing fairly well throughout this. Looks like they're going to go for around the Stolber area. Motivate actually gets control over the top of all of Stolber, and Valiant's going for a reposition at this point. This is kind of interesting. They're already fairly spread out, so it looks like they feel like they have a different point that they want to try to move into. I'm curious to see if they're just trying to get to a kill box location where they think they can catch some people in that transition phase.
I like this northern portion of the map, specifically around this region where there are so many teams. There's lots of dips and valleys and small shacks to hold on to, especially around that South Severny area, as Dignitas staying active here, taking shots across the way at E United, who have the hilltop position. Honey Badger Nation arriving behind them. You can see that density. They're really being forced into this close quarters very early due to the amount of water in the zone.
Well, it's a really interesting place to play around there. Like, you've got the Gatka Flatlands, but then over here around the Stolber regions, you can have a lot of interesting different reposition points. Specifically, if we keep shifting towards Stolber, remember that there's all these different plateau points. You can't really drive just straight up of it. There's a lot of cliffs that you can't make your way up. So it's going to be interesting to see which teams opt into holding which plateaus, and that way they have those sight lines to really line it up. Because Stolber games, you get a great chance to just see some phenomenal shooting from professional players.
No doubt. And we have seen Ghost arrive, a team we've been talking about. They are just sneaking in on the bottom portion of the play zone. They've finished their loot phase. They've held on to a compound. They know that there's going to be a lot of density across this bridge. But if this circle shifts south, which hopefully it will, eliminating some of that water, they will be in a great position.
I think that's what everybody wants at this point. Like, there's so much of the circle that's already just out inside of the water. There's even a crate out inside of the water right now just to add insult to injury.
Go get it.
Just throw it out there. Nobody's going to probably be going for it unless we see another boat play come into play. I mean, it worked pretty well for Energy last time, and to be honest, we used to see it every once in a while. Somebody would grab a boat and come out over through here. Dignitas kind of caught up in their long-range skirmish.
Two teams looking at each other that have met in the past. Tempo Storm and Slime Squad near that Severny shooting range area. I believe Slime Squad not in a position to start fighting just yet, but they are very close to where Tempo Storm is. You can see them here just over on the left side of your map. And it looks like Slime Squad is going to rotate away from Tempo Storm. That circle has revealed itself again. And look at all this landmass that is in the play zone and all the water that's separating that. So now, even more density in an early portion of the game.
And look, everybody, it looks like they're trying to do a hard crash towards the Severny area. Optic is in a position to take a couple of shots at them as they come through there. Cloud9 was the first to move. Looks like they're going to get a foothold location. Yes. They're going to be able to take shots at everybody as they try to transition into this point. Dignitas has got that high ground point. They're just firing down at everybody as they come through this as well. Nova's still on the outside of it, but look, Cloud9's doing such a good job. They've turned 3 different squads at this point. Finally, it's going to be Trigger Happy that crashes in the backside of Severny and finally gets that foothold.
You can see Moody taking a look at Slime Squad, who has rotated into their sights. I like this spot from them. There are 2 ridges covering them from both sides. Dignitas above the hill on them. You can see it's actually Ghost getting into it with God Squad once again. It seems these teams continue to meet. Trigger Happy taking 1 loss from Slime Squad, who is now taking control of the western bunker.
Just over there next to shooting range. One of those little sneaky sections of the map that we don't see get a lot of play. It's eastern bunker.
They're in the bunker.
And so the problem with it is trying to make your way back out of it. Specifically with 72 people alive, when you commit to a position like that, it can be very hard to fight your way back out of. So I think that's why we see a little bit of Slime Squad holding multiple positions, try to get a little bit of cover for each other. But Optic is just up the hill from them.
So looking at here's Wildcard arriving super late as well. They're just arriving to the first play zone, let alone the next one. You can see them just down here, still in transition. They've arrived extremely late.
Oh, God Squad's driving right through, coming right next to Totality's Smithy. You can see that they can't find anywhere that they can go at the direct time. That's already 1 down coming out from Totality. Guys from Totality really enjoy taking these fights, and so they're going to try to look for as many of them as they can. You know that they want these points at this stage specifically, but Smithy kind of reveals himself and he starts getting shot from Dignitas and Baja Waka from Optic, so it's going to force him back down the hillside. But God Squad looked like they managed to find somewhere that they can play around. Still a couple of people from Trigger Happy alive inside of Severny, but there are a lot of shots coming down their way.
Tony V disabling the motorcycles of those in the town. We are still not sure where this circle is going to go just yet. Severity not quite full yet. A lot of teams holding on to the edge to see what the next zone is going to do. Slime Squad down underneath. Hypoc and the rest of Optic holding on to a 4 split in a very important compound very near the center. Optic has a great position here.
And we can see another transition point coming out from Dignitas as they're taking long-range shots at the guys that are over on Stolber Mountain. United's playing in this little divot right in between 2 different squads. It's going to make it really hard for them to feel comfortable taking any shots because Honey Badger Nation is down at their feet. You can see that they're inside of this divot right now, so they are safe. They do have their cars protected, but the moment they step up, it is so much risk.
This gas station, a hold that's very important. United holding something also defensible just to the north. So these two teams staring at each other, nothing they can do just yet. The circle about to change once again, and this is going to dictate the back half of this map. Still 19 teams left, 71 players alive.
And look at the way that the map is configured right now. There's not very many teams inside of Severny just because we have Trigger Happy and Cloud9 that are positioned inside of it. But there's so many squads that are on the outside of it. So they're holding down these different positions. Like you can see that there's no road path where you can move along the north because we're looking at the northern area right now. The southern area has a lot of control inside of this position as well. So you can see Tempo Storm's kind of holding an outside flank so nobody can push on the northern side of Severny. We've got Honey Badger Nation, United, Orbit all in different spots out over there. So nobody can really kind of go out and around to get to that northern area that is the safe spot in Severny.
So we're about to see what's going to happen with this zone, and we are going to be shifting onto Severny. So most of the water does come out of this circle. Severny now about to erupt with the players trying to crash. Optics still in a good position. No need to move from them. Slime Squad also. We did see Hetror go down to a headshot from God Squad. So that's going to be a lost helmet. Nothing they can replace just yet, but the transition already begins. It's about to explode.
Honey Badger Nation and United both going for a strong crash into Severny. They both disengage off of each other at the exact same moment. Everybody's just trying to find the building that they want to go into. You can see that Honey Badger Nation is firmly where United got there first.
Yep.
So they're now to turn around. They're trying to figure out which direction to go. They don't want to get hit with these shots. Slime Squad kind of peeking out, still taking their shots over towards Trigger Happy, but they can also keep people from moving into this area. Meanwhile, Ghost looks like they get some nice shots onto the NRG guys, and it's going to be Optic that's going to be taking some shots over at Nova.
No doubt we can see Slime Squad taking that AK out and trying to do some work with it. Tony V following up with the mini. Nothing lands for them. Wildcard entering the shooting range along with Nova. Venerated and Energy are dealing with each other at the edge of the play zone, and it looks like K-Mine is going to be eliminated. And
NRG, they've got so much pressure on them right now. You can see that in the southern area of the map. It's going to be the guys from Ghost that are doing a hard push on top of them right now, right on the outskirts of it. Motivate was also circling around. NRG has been under so much pressure at this point, and the guys from Ghost are finally becoming unlocked. They see a target. They want it. They're tired of getting shot in transition. Instead, they spring the trap themselves. They get the shots, and you can see NRG just can't get out of this.
United dealing with a fight on their home turf as well. As we cut to Caden and NRG, they're looking at each other on this hillside. You can see already the damage has been done. Jnark having to heal. Pentalol trying to get away. Wildcard also dealing with Nova in the shooting range. And for Ghost, they have Energy on their heels. They can't push just yet, though. It looks like Ghost has taken some damage as well, and Energy slipping through their grasp.
And so now that's going to kind of provide a little bit of a moment of reprieve for NRG, and you can see they are hot-footing it out of there. They know they're weakened. Ghost already got knocked down. 2 of them got the kills on it, so they're just going to be bouncing from tree to tree. Ghost knows the evacuation route from here, though, so they're going up and going to follow right back behind it. Do they see them? I think that they might actually have gotten line of sight, and yeah, you can see bullets are now just starting to fly their way. Zark's trying to make it back behind that hillside. Pentalol does get knocked. Zark is super low at this point. One more bullet will do it, but he does manage to make it towards the rock.
He's in trouble. He's got very low health. Ghost swarming around him. They know there's one player left. Ghost has to be careful. If they crest this hill, they're going to be in line of sight to a lot of different teams. We do see Optic back together, and Jnark facing elimination. Energy looks like they're in a lot of trouble here, and he will go down. Energy going down in 19th place.
That is 2 squad wipes this early inside of this game. You can tell the fact that these hard pushes up towards the north are really hard for some of these teams to deal with at the direct time. A lot of long-range shots that are coming out in distance here. It look like we do see Honey Badger Nation did find themselves a little safe cubby to play, but they're playing way up in the northwestern area of the circle along the hillside there. Slime Squad still kind of trapped down inside of their bunker. I think everybody's kind of got their own little home for right now. It's all going to be about where do we go next.
No doubt, and where we go next is the question. The circle about to shift once again. Optic in prime position with their compound. Severity might be the center of it all here, but for Space Station Gaming and these other edge teams, it's going to be time to move. Team Gates already in rotation. Ghost, having finished off Energy, are going to have a short path to the next zone as it's going to be centered around the shooting range.
I really like the play coming out of Team Gates there. They went ahead and jumped into their vehicles. They know that they needed to go ahead and be moving the moment the circle popped because they wanted to get into a good position. Now everybody's starting to push down and through, and this is turning really bad from the guys from Cloud9. They were trying to make their way right in there. They weren't expecting so many people on the outside of this. They're taking casualty after casualty, as I believe it's just going to be Moody that's crashing down there. Motivate's now trying to run off into the distance.
Who to shoot at. They can't decide who to shoot at.
There's just too many people coming around them, so they just have to take shots at anything that moves. Way off in the distance, Tony does line up a shot, but you can just see it's car after car just crashing around them.
You know, the centerpiece of this whole tournament so far has been the Mini 14, a weapon that is used by all teams, that fast bullet speed, that spam ability. You see Tony V using it there. It is so important to hit those precise shots, and Tony V with the Mini 14 has been doing a great job.
We have, looks like Totality and Optic entangled in a fight right on the outside of the circle over there, trying to make their way inside of this. They're caught on the other side of two different hills. That's starting to get pretty violent there as Totality has now managed to make their foothold inside of that spot.
So for Totality and Optic, they are occupying the same compound. They've already lost one. Totality still 4 strong. So for Optic, they are split between this compound, but they were unable to defend it, which is why that split, it can be so dangerous. So now, Totality, will they be able to eliminate the rest of Optic, who cannot trade?
Dignitas looks like they're opting into the exact same spot that Slime Squad Scout was at. Carbon is just under so much pressure right now. They just crash straight into it and just take him down.
So Slime Squad trying to return fire there. Dignitas does take one down, but that was a bit of a trap there by Dignitas, who has arrived on scene, but they're now trapped in this shack. 3 teams all together in such a tight area. Maneuverability is going to be difficult.
And just throw a crate right smack between all 3 of them, so that way they're all having to look through it. Like, yeah, go
get it.
Go ahead, it'll be fine. You know you want that level 3 gear inside there. It'll be okay.
So you can see here joining Totality in their compound. Valiate and the rest of Optic have tried to actually rejoin each other, so that's a good move from them. So now the circle, this is the edge, somewhere we've seen Totality this entire tournament. The circle closing again, the game rolls on.
And this has been the problem for Optic. They get caught in these entangled fights. They can't really disengage from them. So when the next hard circle shift comes, they have people all around them. They know that they need to get control over this area, but they can't quite connect the shots to get they keep getting downs, but they can't get the kills that they need.
Speaking of which, Valiate, only 1 kill between this team. They are in a good spot for now, but that Severity area, that northern portion of the play zone, those who chose that area are going to have to move once again. United there. Totality and Optic continuing to trade. Very interested to see how this shift is going to affect the fortunes of Totality as Valiate goes down.
That's going to be a shot from the outside coming in from Smithy, but it's also going to be Gustav that gets the down on the Baja. Everybody kind of forgot about that shack back behind him. This is now turning into a third-party contest for Optic. They're getting shot from multiple angles, and it's going to be really hard for them. That is a nice little divot switch there. As you can see, he kind of ducks down, avoids those shots. Looks like they can make it back over to get the res, but Totality seems to be aware that that's the push that they want.
Yeah,
they just can't quite get it, though.
I think that Totality is setting this up with the smoke grenades. They want to cross. They're trying to make a bit of a cover for themselves to try and push onto a weakened Optic squad. Dignitas playing the third-party factor behind them. Totality needs to make a decision here as we're about to see yet another circle change.
And here's the risk. You can see Totality wanted to step up. They wanted to go after Optic. They know that the down happened, but they also have to run through Dignitas's line of sight. So whoever has to move out of this position first is just going to be so bad. And Baja, again, another down on there. We're starting to see Totality get dropped. Sure, they get the res, but every single time that's another piece of armor, more meds that have to be burned. How many resources do we see with Totality? How much do they have left? What's left in their tank to make it out of this, as now the circle is not in anybody's favor inside of this fight?
Really liking, well, I mean, Gangstar, had they not taken some casualties earlier, really this is looking like a great circle for Ghost, who is all by themselves at the bottom portion of the play zone. They did get the shift to come their way. God Squad does not have the manpower to put pressure on them, so now it's going to be a split trying to hold this as Orbit is taking a look at Trigger Happy in this barn. That nade does not land true. So Nikapa missing that initial grenade toss, but that Totality Optic fight, they're all going to have to move, including Dignitas, who technically has a better position than them. They can watch all the transition movements, and Ghost is now starting to rotate down that way, looking to clear out their edge of the zone.
Yeah, I really like this. This is very common from the Ghost players. They like to play around the outside of the circle, the thinnest point, and catch people that like to condense down around the outside because there's so many flankers. Totality looks like they're finally starting to pull out in the distance, but we can see the Tempo Storm under a little bit of duress right now.
So for Tempo Storm, they have taken one down. Totality now getting third-partied. Once again, Valiate finishing off Smithy. And this is now starting to come apart. Only Los HD left standing. Valiate does go down. Honey Badger Nation is involved with Dignitas. Interrogate trying to finish off that kill on Valiate as Los HD gets surprised and taken down by Baja Waka. Optic, however, still taking casualties.
And Totality is still alive off inside the distance, but they have the circle right on top of them. Orbit's doing a hard push over towards the guys from Honey Badger Nation. Looks like Taro couldn't get disengaged from that fight. Waldo's just walking out in forward, just gets dropped from a side angle from Grizzly.
So Honey Badger Nation on top of this hill, doing a good job to hold on to it. But for now, Grizzly taking a look at Mystery, and the circle is closing. So they're running out of time. Trigger Happy also eliminated. Geis and United also. How did he wind up all the way over there?
At this point, I'm not even going to question. I'm just going to say PUBG things that happen sometimes. We still have Team Gates with a strong control point where they're at the direct time. Tempo Storm's also transitioned into a strong point. Gates playing around that outside. Ghost just holding down. Look at them.
They're being very patient, patient.
They're playing it, and this is the way that they want to play. They want to let everybody else fight and then push in. We do have a couple of guys from Optic that are still alive. They're going to have to move out of their position. Dignitas taking a lot of damage from Slime Squad, again, showing to be very strong shooters.
So for Optic, they have to move, and I think that for Motivate, they have them lined up. Look at Dignitas. They're all staring at them, waiting for them to move. They're like, we know you're coming.
Uncivil's down, and they can't reposition because Tony's up on that high ground position. Muda's around the outside of it. Baja can try to step out and forward and try to come over there. Nice shots coming out from Microstar, doing a lot of damage.
That looked like a headshot. Yeah, that's actually a Snowbird taking some shots there. Slime Squad is kind of hemmed into this bunker. They're doing their best. I mean, they're in the center of the zone. They're letting this game progress around them, but they're not getting any of that information that's so important this stage of the game.
Well, at this point, they don't need any information. They just have people walking in front of them repeatedly. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll shoot you, and I'll shoot you. The problem comes now that the circle is no longer near the bunker. They have to now come out of this bunker with near on none of that information you were talking about, and they only have to figure out how they're going to come in there. And a shooting range game. Oh,
a literal shooting range.
If you guys have never had the joy of watching a shooting range game with all those targets and those little points that you can drop into, like look at it right now. You can see all their walls, everything like that. There can just be an enemy around every corner, and it is just nerve-wracking for these players to play through.
No doubt, and really this is a great spot for a wildcard. They have great cover, they have the wall, they have the vehicle set up, and we can see Ghost now being forced to move. They're rotating into the gap. They're looking right at Team Gates, who is spread out below them. Again, another spread team. Ghost, all guns online, ready to go here. Exco, the closest man to the Mortify, moving around below them, and the 4Xs get attached. It's time to start firing.
And they already have line of sight. They're taking shots off in the distance. It's going to be CeeLo that's going to teeth the first couple of bullets. He's going to retreat, but it's going to be Exco that gets a little bit of damage onto Profi and forces him back up the hillside.
Profi having to turn and run the circle, pressuring them. Ghost actually now, having maybe lost their surprise, have the circle on behind them, and they're going to have to push away from Team Gates just to survive. Team Gates actually playing very good defense there, not allowing Ghost to get anything started.
Well, it's actually going to be Gangstars way off in the distance that got the down and really forced them to have to retreat off of this. They still have to run down the hillside is the problem, so there's going to be teams set up in any position that they want to push down, and finally we do see Cloud9 does get eliminated there. Good job on them trying to survive for as long as they could after taking up all those early casualties, but we still have way off in the distance Slime Squad, Optic, and Dignitas are all still entangled with a little bit of Tempo Storm in a gatekeeping position.
Interested to see how Optic is dealing with this, as we do see Baja Waka go down to Wookie Bookie. So Dignitas staying active here. The trade's coming. Wookie Bookie has taken damage. Slime Squad is in this bunker in front of them. The shots ring out. One goes down, and they do trade, but the circle is coming, and that is going to be it for Wookie Bookie. Ghost also there dealing with Motivate coming down the hill. Motivate caught completely off guard. Zen all of a sudden a spread from his last teammate. Zen stuck on the tree. McCoy with the bush, trying to get as close as he can. McCoy looking to finish this off.
They're just trying to go for position. Nice shots coming out from McCoy, running back down into the smoke. They're having to play this aggressive. They know that they're under trouble. They've got to run straight down into Gangstars. They know that there was a firefight that was happening. McCoy drops down. You can see that this is going great for a Ghost, but they do have 2 downs inside of it, and the circle's closing down. Those guys are just having to crawl back down. A lot of shots coming out. Smoke is hiding everything inside of this. Maybe the man with the ghillie suit can try to sneak his way through.
Ghost is taking a lot of casualties. Caden is not going to be able to be rezzed. He's way too far away, and he is finished off. So now it's up to McCoy and Profi. 9 kills for Ghost. They have done a good job of coming down this hill and collecting kills. They're not without damage, however. Inferno to the left in the shack. There is Nitrogen there as well left from Gangstars. Will they be able to finish this off? They know he's in the shack. The shots come out, but unfortunately, Nitrogen!
It's Nitrogen with the side flank. They were so caught up about the guy inside the shack. It's going to be Nitrogen that just pops up out of nowhere and gets the kills.
And Inferno does go down to the zone. I'm not sure if that was credited to Ghost or not. Tempo Storm. The circle has shifted all the way back south, favoring them. Nitrogen is actually rewarded with a nice shift there as well. He can just grab some meds, prone out, and wait for these teams to start doing damage to each other. Space Station Gaming and Honey Badger Nation are unfortunately the furthest from the new zone. Space Station Gaming, however, still does have, I believe, their entire roster up and standing. But Tempo Storm and Dignitas are squaring off. We did see Optic go out as well. Wildcard, the only team with 4 strong in the zone.
And you can see everybody's playing around this outside wall. Wildcard's in a nice spot right now. He could have Tempo Storm coming down back behind him, but they know Team Gates is up in front of him. Team Gates has been playing around the southern part of shooting range for quite a while right now, just trying to get control over that area. Remember, Ghost had to shift away from them, and that's how come we saw them go down just a second ago. They have to maintain this control point. They're now opting in. They all have to crash down near each other, but all these guys in the northern area, Honey Badger Nation, Space Station Gaming, they're all going to have to crash into the remnants of Nova's Nerf Me Please hiding down right in front of them. Everybody has to push down through these really awkward points.
No doubt, and that travel within that shooting range is going to be very difficult. Space Station Gaming getting ahead of both Honey Badger Nation and Nova. The shots ring out. Team Gates receiving pressure. They have the wall to work with. They're moving their vehicles up for flank defense. Really liking the positioning of Team Gates. They have technically the high ground, but lots of cover to work with for Space Station.
But they have to run straight up against this wall, so they're going to throw out the grenades, hope that they can try to get them to roll back down into this location, because they're kind of in a gully right now, so every grenade could be so strong if they can just connect it off of this. Throwing out the flashbangs as well, just trying to see what they can do. And there comes a flank from Space Station Gaming, getting one of them down. That's going to force Team Gates to have to look multiple directions. They're trying to line up these shots out in the distance. That's just Nerf Me Please. He's the last one left, just popping up right on top of Honey Badger, taking them down.
Wow, that was a nice flank from them, but he gave away his position. Team Gates under fire from Vexel. Win is down for Space Station Gaming. Nerf Me Please still alive. So now for Nova, they're going to have to deal with him. And really, Nova is playing a huge spoiler here. Vexel and the rest of Space Station can't complete this flank. They're so concerned about Nova.
He got so much control over that area. Nerf Me Please, whenever he got the downs onto the Honey Badger Nation guys, now he has a safe place that he can play in. You can see Space Station Gaming just having to crest around the outside of this. Nobody's looking in this direction, though. Can Nerf Me Please do it again as these guys jump over the wall?
Is a hard peek.
It's just going to be a hard push for him. He has to line up these shots, and it's going to be Smurf with 10S going to get the kill.
So Smurf finishing off Nova. That's a nice play by Nerf. Nice job there with cleaning up Honey Badger Nation. So now Team Gates has somewhat recovered. I do like the positioning of Space Station Gaming, but really, this is going to be very difficult. Lots of high and low ground involved here.
We still on this. We have Wildcard, who's been very quiet. We've got Tempo Storm just hanging around the northern area. They are going to have to go for a reposition, but nobody's really caught up with them. Everybody's caught in this little low ground fight between all these different wall positions. So Tempo Storm could actually just make their way down this hillside and get a lot of kills in it. And Nitrogen he's alive over here.
He got McCoy's ghillie suit.
He got the ghillie suit. He's living the life.
So the slow walking, well, I guess that's the walk button crawl there, trying to stay out of sight. Team Gates still getting a lot of pressure from Space Station Gaming. They're looking to try and get here and finish these guys off, but the pressure comes from up top as well. So Mortify, Exco ready for this. They have the wall advantage. Will they be able to stave off Space Station Gaming? The circle is closing again.
There is just nowhere for anybody on Team Gates to retreat to get good line of sight. They've already taken a lot of damage, but now that Space Station Gaming is starting to get right on top of Team Gates, they can start taking shots from the outside of it by the wildcard guys. Nobody has a real clean, clear sight on anybody except for the guys from Tempo Storm. Zampa's known for hitting some great Kobe's. Gonna throw it out. You can see Maluk's already got one kill, and Zampa looks like he does get some shots.
Oh,
Vexel's
Vexel,
trying to
he
go
waited
for
too
it.
long.
Circle's taking too much damage. Zampa's just got this high ground spot. We know
Oh,
how much he
no.
loves the flanks, and look, he is just getting shot after shot. Maluk trying to finish it off over there, and now he's coming up over here. Does he know where Nitrogen is? It looks like he
does now.
Yeah.
He just saw him, I think. We do have the X-ray, but he does see him, and wow, nice shots by Zampa picking up the kill there. So now we're down to 3. Zampa and Maluk all of a sudden quietly amassing 6 kills as Trifley goes down to the zone, and it looks like it's now just 2v1.
It's going to be Mossy in the low ground position. We've got the guys from Tempo Storm still strong. Going to go over there, maybe pick up a ghillie suit or something else along those lines they can work with. They can essentially just crest up over this hill. You can see Mossy's trying to figure out where it's going, but Maluk is waiting for Zampa. Zampa takes a little bit of damage while he was trying to get the loot off of that, but man, Maluk is kitted.
Absolutely. So that is a nice pickup here for Tempo Storm, who I think were a little bit disjointed through the first half of this game, but they picked up a nice spot, and they've picked up 6 kills as well. Very impressive by Zampa and Maluk to basically take that disadvantage and that positioning and translate it into here, what could very easily be a win.
So we've got the 3 alive. Mossy does know where Zampa was, but he had to give his position away to take those shots. So it's how come you can kind of see where Maluk is trying to step forward, get a read. Every single time they crest up, they know it's dangerous. Already had one of their teammates take a lot of damage. They can see the smoke. They just have to figure out where he's going to reposition to, because it can be dangerous. Take a couple of shots at the bush, make sure that nobody's over there. I think Mossy managed to sneak off to the side and, yes, did not get spotted.
So for Mossy, we've seen players go 1v2 and sometimes 1v4 in the past. The low ground position not doing him any favors, however. Maluk, and the pressure from Zampa finishes him off, as that is Tempo Storm taking their first victory of this tournament.
Tempo Storm is known for their consistency. They're known to perform. They may not always get the win, but they will get in those first couple of spots. They'll get second, third, fourth, over and over again, and now they've got that win. That could be the escalation point for them to really unlock them on this leaderboard.
Tempo Storm is always that team that slowly builds up momentum, gets that second, gets that third place, finally securing a win. Team Gates, you can see they are the second place finish there. Unfortunately for them, not able to finish that off, but that positioning from them, that fight with Space Station Gaming, they had a lot going on. So really impressive for Tempo Storm in this situation, as we do get the illuminated now Tempo Storm players looking a little bit relieved.
I mean, at this point, you have to want to get those wins. With as many people that we've seen get wins, all these different squads, that's what's allowing the leaderboard to look a little clustered towards the top and a little bit weaker towards the bottom, because we really haven't got those repeat wins that we've been looking for. So Tempo Storm finally gets that reprieve to feel like, okay, finally, we got the kills. We got 7 kills inside of that round. That's a ton of points. We got the 500 points for first. We're back in this because we're officially we're over halfway through now.
Just over halfway. So with that said, we have all of these teams still competing heavily. Day 2 moving right along. Analysts, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, a fantastic third game of the day, and yet again, we are still left waiting and wanting for our one team to win 2 rounds, as Tempo Storm now comes in with an amazing performance from the duo that was left over. Very, very patient play coming out of those guys.
That's kind of their MO, though. They play very patiently all the time. They like to prioritize safety over anything else, which is a little unfortunate for the viewer, because we've seen exactly what some of their players can do, specifically Zampa, but then he has enough of a show reel off of this event so far anyway.
Yeah, they had a hard trek, too. Like, keep in mind, they went to Water Compound, sort of on the north side of the map, which we knew probably wouldn't be in on the Circle 4 shift. It wasn't. Then they had to take the hill, sort of just south of that, and fight their way up. I think Honey Badger Nation was up there, so they got through that. And then we lost track of them in the chaos of this sort of totality optic fight. And then we come back, and somehow 2 of them have relocated to the dead center of the map and are just a really great spot. And then from then on, they just had really good third-party control. I think that was the key, is they said, you know what? We're just third parties from here on out. And every time someone fought, they pop up, steal a couple of kills, and go back to chilling.
That was the biggest thing, though, is the patient play. But at the same time, they still recognize that they weren't sitting on very many kills. The kills mean points. They need the points. And Zampa and Maluk just pushing in at the perfect time to kind of third party or fourth party even on all the teams trying to make their way out of shooting range, Cam.
Well, they also wanted to make sure that when the fight did come to them, when they wouldn't be the third party, they'd be the first or second party, that they would be in the best shot to win. And to do that is to make sure that you kill as much as you can, because even if you don't wipe the team, it's still going to bring them down, if not full bodies, in resources, ammo, armor, meds.
Well, guys, we are going to take you to a replay real quick. We have Dignitas versus FlyQuest here. Wookie Bookie coming in with some amazing play here, holding down this warehouse position.
Yeah, and it's actually very difficult as a solo naturally to hold against 4 people, but what allowed him to do it was getting this initial frag onto something on the flank. He pulled off of the compound itself and able to basically hold this one direction. A nice nade did help him out as well as backup, but if he tried to stay inside the compound, inside the warehouse, he would have been torn to shreds, but instead they get a full wipe Dignitas onto FlyQuest very early into the game.
Yeah, I don't think FlyQuest expected the level of aggression that Wookie and the boys brought to this push. I mean, warehouse is traditionally a spot that's pretty hard to breach because of the two-sided entry. I think, though, and FlyQuest made the right choice here with the changes to grenades recently, flashbangs with their guaranteed stun, etc., makes that warehouse a lot harder to hold because if someone locks down door A, you know they're going to be coming flooding out of door B. So FlyQuest vacated. The problem was, I mean, we even saw one of the players was just sitting in a car, essentially. So they weren't ready for Dignitas to come in so ridiculously hot, and maybe it rubbed off on Totality because they did the same thing a little bit later. There's a lot of like weird aggressive crashes in this game.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are going to take you now to Findable Carpet, who is standing by with a representative from our winning squad, Tempo Storm.
I've got Zampa here with me. He's actually got the coolest shoes I've ever seen. I'll go for the handshake. We'll pan that one out.
Man.
Those are pretty nice. Have you had them for a while?
They're easy knockoffs, but I got them yesterday at Universal.
So well, let's not know too much about the shoes. Let's talk a little about that first circle. I know everyone saw it and went, oh God, now what? So what was the first thought that went through your guys' head, and how did you guys move forward?
The first thought was we should wrap west and go up the hill because we thought that there would be more people on the east side. So we went up north and people didn't want to go towards water, so we had a full edge clear on west, and we were pretty confident about that.
So then from there, you guys had what I'd assume to be a pretty psychotic drive towards the middle. They mentioned it a little bit on the desk. There were 2 of you left, and you're like, screw it. We just got to get in a good position. Did you guys have to motivate yourself to do that, or was that just like the only thing you thought was worth it?
We got wrapped by a team, and we hit the hay, and we went out. We said, we're diving center. Whoever's there is dying, and we're just proning.
So for the final moments, you guys knew you were 2 men down, so you were in a disadvantageous situation. I think that's the word I'm looking for. You think I'm the one falling apart up here? You're the one that's actually looking pretty collected. What information did you know at the time when you heard shots going and felt people going down? And then from there, what did you know your goal was to get the victory?
Our goal was to let the circle come in and have everyone that is in shooting range fight, and then get the highest placement possible. And then I knew there had to be a guy south of me, so I wrapped, killed him, and then we got circle shrink. And the guys at the bottom of the hill had to fight us, and we had the top hill.
Awesome. Well, Zampa, you've been threatening me with an interview this whole weekend. We keep running into each other, you tell me, and you have earned it. Congratulations on your win. You guys played incredibly. With the 2-man squad, you're able to clench out the victory. So we're going to go on a quick break. We have 2 matches left for the day, so don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PUBG Global Invitational. I've got kind of some bad news. I'm definitely a liar. There's only one game left, not two. I just wanted you to prep, get a bunch of snacks and water, because the last game's probably going to be epic. So we just had Tempo Storm take their first victory. Still not a single repeat at all in this tournament. We've had a different victor for every single game. One more into the day. That's going to be 8 total games in the tournament after this one's finished. We have one more today, and then 4 more tomorrow. Don't forget to tune in. But Porosaurus and the gang, first of all, every time I'm sitting in this ring, I want to announce you like some sort of boxing arena thing. I just want to shout your name out loud. But it's going to be really cringy, and then it's going to get clipped and put on a bunch of websites. So I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely. Look, I've never in my life been clipped.
No?
I have
We can
no
do it.
idea.
I can be cringy while you're here
You
on
wanna do
screen, and then it'll be.
Yeah, do it.
No, I'm not going to do
Do
it.
it.
I do want to jog around this arena right now, though.
We'll make notes on it. We'll come together.
Maybe
we'll
next time.
workshop it
Show us your
and see what we can
rotations.
come up with for tomorrow. Well, guys, we are heading into the final game of the evening. But before we do, we want to take a quick look at a replay from Ghost McCoy in this last game, just coming up on a team and dominating. Like this is how Ghost is managing, even without the wins, to still stay in first place.
Yeah, they actually were coming off of a loss. They went towards gates earlier, got turned back, and then McCoy just comes over this hill and completely just destroys Motivate one by one by one. And look at this headshot pop.
I mean, that's a headshot that you need to make. I mean, he's out in the wide open, going up against an opponent hiding behind the tree. He has to hit that headshot, and
15 bullets
McCoy
left.
almost hits it almost every time.
Now here's the downside. They got confident. They tunnel visioned, and that was it. So this is the thing about Ghost, is they came off of the Echo fight, moved back around, tunnel visioned, and then got caught by Nitrogen, who was hiding in kind of a really weird spot.
Well, Nitrogen managed to stick around for long enough to get his team some good position. So let's see how that works out for Gangstars on our current leaderboard. And you see Ghost Gaming still at the top, but Slime Squad making some serious moves today.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with Slime Squad. I mean, you've been touting Slime Squad and Honey Badger all week, or especially Honey Badger, and look at them.
Yeah.
And these guys are consistent. Honey Badger's in 4th. Gates is very close to Slime. This is really anybody's tournament right now.
Well, Wildcard also has moved their way, fighting their way up the leaderboard. They started out the day in kind of in the low 20, or in the lower part. Now they've worked their way all the way up to 8th. Dignitas just behind them in 9th. We can see the bottom half of this scoreboard. There it is. You can see Optic has now made their way into 11th.
What?
Cloud9 just behind them and NRG just behind them. So again, though, these are all teams that are within one win, one high-performing win of just being in that top 3. So nothing is out of reach for these guys just yet.
Yeah, it's still really close. For like the whole middle pack is really huge. Oftentimes in an event you'll see different tiers, and sure at the top it can be a little far away, but then like the middle 10 are really close to each other.
Yeah. Absolutely. No one's had a chance to really pull away yet. Well, knowing that, going forward into this 4th and final game, let's make some predictions. We didn't get to do it last time, but we're going to do it this time. I'm going with C9. I think C9 has been playing absolutely fantastic. They came out strong today, and I would think they're going to finish strong going into tomorrow.
I'm going to go with Dignitas. Have not won one yet. They've worked their way up to 9th. It's time.
It is time.
I still have faith. I'm still going to go with Optic. They've been struggling, but I know what they can do. I still have faith that not just Valiant system, but then the play of them, teamwork, micro play, is still going to be strong.
Well, we're still looking for that first team to take a second win, and Optic is just as likely as any of the other ones to take it. So, guys, we are now loaded into lobby. We are ready to go for the 4th and final game of the day, 8th game overall. But we are going to take it to your casters now with Matchroom and WTF Moses.
Thank you, Poro. I am Moses. This is Matchroom. We are headed into the final game of day number 2. We've seen incredible action all day. We've seen some interesting storylines. Optic sliding down the leaderboard. Slime Squad climbing up. And really, for some of these teams, it's now looking very dire.
I think that if we could put a theme on today, it's clutch plays. We've seen a lot of solo players manage to survive for way longer than anybody is expecting, come up out of nowhere and do some crazy plays. Like we saw in that game last time, Tempo Storm down 2 players. They were having to sneak around the outside of this, try to catch those right moments. We've seen Slime Squad repeatedly perform inside of this. A lot of the teams that were playing a little bit more passive and playing for points in that style yesterday, now that they're having this trouble finishing off and getting that last kill on the last player, we're not seeing so many squads get eliminated early and these guys kind of sneaking in. So we have like 18, 19 teams still alive when there's like 40 people up.
No doubt. And now we are going to see a very nice plane path for this last game of today. 4 more tomorrow, but this north-south plane path going to give a lot of options for these teams. No issues getting pretty much anywhere on the map this time around.
Yeah, I mean, this is just bread and butter PUBG right here. It's everything that you could want. You can drop over to Georgia Pool if you wanted to even stretch. You can probably make it over to Primorsk. Everybody that's going to drop around the Gatka area. Naturally, the guys that are going to drop in Yasnaya or around the Rajak area, they're all fine. Military base is fine. But the question is, we're starting to see more and more people encroaching in that military base zone. Wildcard still inside the airplane. Looks like they're probably going to drop around this area as well.
Now, since there are some teams, I'm looking at the back half of the leaderboard where getting into that top 3 is all but done for them. Are we going to start to see some pressure, some aggression, some hot drops for some of these low-end teams?
At this point, you've got to do something to disrupt what's happening to the leaderboard. Maybe it's hot dropping down, because let's be honest, most of these guys, they're dropping the same spot over and over. Ghost at the top of the leaderboard, always dropping Milta. Maybe not drop on them, but at least position around them, potentially try to catch them in a transition point. We can actually see the chaos of the drop at the direct time. We do have a lot of teams that look like they're dropping down into what is considered to be their Primarch locations. Nothing too crazy coming out inside of this. We got our guys from Slime Squad rocking the motorcycle, trying to make it off in the distance, and the circle does pop, and looks like it's centralized around the farm area.
Slime Squad opting to just go to Georgia Pool regardless of what's going on, so likely a smart choice from them. We do see a relatively standard circle here, going to be allowing most of these teams, luckily, to be in the first play zone.
Flipping back over the UAZ. We saw that Gangstars.
Yeah,
no, that's the way you got to make sure to do it. Specifically, whenever the UAZ falls, it usually just falls on its side. If it's like a Dacia or a buggy and ends up flipped upside down, you're just like, oh, I'll leave it.
Flipping in the ass field is just like a tried and true tradition of PUBG at this stage.
That's just everybody's done it a few times. Specifically, as you hit those little rivets and going everywhere. Tempo Storm cutting off, trying to make it over to their home of Gatka Fields. Go out there and try to farm out around that general location. We actually do see Wildcard opting away from military base and instead grabbing a boat, and looks like they're going to go over to their other home of Primorsk.
So I was just outside in the tents, and you know, for those of you who aren't on site here, we have the opportunity to go outside, kind of walk around between games, and I did have the opportunity to check out Optic. They were all standing together, but again, no one really talking to each other. You have to wonder, are their spirits, you know, still in a place where they can allow themselves to win? They're sticking to the game plan. They're on the bubble of that top 10. They're at 1,100 points. They need to get into that 2,000 range. So they need to win, and they need to stay consistent for the back half of this tournament if they're going to have any chance at all.
And luckily, that's just a win and a few kills. If you can perform well, if you can get another round win, Optic can just pop right straight back up inside of this. We see so many teams right now. Naturally, Ghost Gaming is around that 2,500 mark. Slime Squad in second, around 2,100 behind them. Then a ton of teams right around 1,900. So a lot of these guys are still competing. Looks like we're starting to get a lot of breakouts, but we do have Slime Squad, Team Gates, Honey Badger Nation, and Tempo Storm that are repeatedly performing on day 2.
Absolutely, and really they have everything to play for, and yet they don't have some of the pressure that some of these top-tier teams have. The pressure of being assigned to a team like Optic or Ghost, or depending on who you're talking about. For these unsigned teams, they're just trying to prove themselves to try and get to the next stage, and maybe, you know, take away some of that bread from some of these other teams.
Exactly. This is that moment that we all love inside of esports. Whenever you're coming up, you perform through the qualifiers, you're making it up there, you're getting so close to living your dream. You can just reach out. If you perform in an event like this, you know people are going to want to sign you. You know that this is the gateway for you to do everything that you want as far as an esports career, and they want it so bad. You can see that these unsigned teams, they are not relenting against the signed teams, and they want to make sure that they make a statement here.
So looking at the way this circle has shaped up, this is going to be a situation for Ghost to hold on to their loot spot for as long as possible. We've seen teams like Vitality in Europe do this. They are split all around that Milta region, and they're going to be able to hold on to that. No transition needed for them, and a Ghost that doesn't need to transition. That's where I think they're the weakest, and where they lose their players is in transition. They don't have to do that, at least for now.
And so whenever they have this controlled point, they can loot up, they can just constantly stack inside of this area, get control of the different regions that are around them. Because if you look on the minimap, they've got FlyQuest that's over in the farm area, and they've got Nova that's over in the Milta Power area. But really, they have a lot of breathing room around this general vicinity where Caden even already went down towards that like bridge connector point and was doing some looting over there. They feel very comfortable in this region, but they are starting to do a progressive push towards the north, and a lot of teams have already centralized up. This could be bad for everybody that's kind of collapsing around the center point. As you can see, FlyQuest, Totality, Ghost, they're all starting to come into that centralized area.
So for a team like Totality, they are now centering up. They've been playing around the edge for the last couple of games, and it hasn't been working for them as Caden is picking up the Mark 14. That's a very dangerous set of hands to be holding on to the Mark 14. Totality, who expected them to be in last place? Oh my gosh.
The sacrifice coming out from this, we were talking about how Venerated and the rest of the guys from Ghost were pushing into this vicinity. We're now over here with Totality also in the same spot. That's going to be a lot of losses coming out from Ghost. They're very early. They did get the loot for it, but it came at a huge cost. Meanwhile, Caden, hard driving right now. You can see that they're going to try to push up in this general location. Totality and FlyQuest, we were just looking a second ago in this spot. That's the risk of trying to control and get in this area. If somebody's already holding death row, you can see that Caden just comes in, crashes in, protecting the motorcycle, getting it into this position. Now Ghost getting a little bit more control over their environment.
So I do like how Ghost did risk taking this compound very strong in a circle of this nature. Totality still moving around. Again, taking some shots at FlyQuest, who are retreating away from Totality. Not ones to allow their position on the leaderboard dictate their play. They're going to try and stick with the game plan of aggression. They need the kills. They need the points.
And at this point, it's paying off. Look, something doesn't even have a helmet. They're on full-on retreat at this stage. Totality wants this, and they're pushing down after it. They know that there's no vehicles around here. They do get a lineup shot, trying to hit it. Steezy does get a motorcycle and manage to run off on the outside of that.
So Steezy just barely getting away from the watchful eye of Purdy there. Purdy and the rest of Totality backing up. Again, something we've seen from them. Steezy not escaping the next team, however. He's taking some shots. That's Cloud9 has spotted him, and he's going to have to take cover here. Cloud9 going to go right at him. Moody getting the initial down. So that's another loss for FlyQuest early in this game.
And we coming over here with Gangstars. They're going to be taking down 2 members of Motivate. But I got to say, right now, we're seeing a lot of trouble come out as there are 2 very aggressive squads just collapsing down onto FlyQuest's position. We saw one of them try to get out, run right into Cloud9. Meanwhile, Totality is still up in this position. Gangstars trying to get the shots off. They did get the damage out, but you can see off in the distance, it's going to be Tim Gates taking a lot of shots on it. They just have to retreat and leave Nitrogen behind. Lots of damage still coming out. They're just throwing down what smoke they can to try to make it back to cover.
So they popped out, took the fight that they could, but they are being punished by Team Gates. Daz is down as well. They are not out of trouble yet. CeeLo continuing to shoot, and he will take down Smeagol as well. Gangstars in a world of hurt here. Team Gates trying to maintain this momentum that they've been building over today, and they are now taking it to Gangstars.
You can see that they're thinking about going to the buggy. They know they've got multiple downs. It's going to take about 10 seconds to get one of them up, another 10 seconds to get the other one, try to get the heals out. Smokes are already coming through. I got to say, Gangstars has a lot of smokes already in this position, but Team Gates,
they're not giving them any space.
The floodgates are coming open. They're coming around 2 different points. Mossy's on the outside of it. These guys have to instantly retreat. Shots are already coming down. Daz doesn't even have a chance to heal. He's just running up onto this. But now Team Gates has committed to a full breach. This is very dangerous for Gates.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't quite crash into the compound. Mossy stopped. I'm not sure if this was a miscommunication or what happened, but they're circling back. Mossy now separated from his team. Now he's going to back this thing off. We got to get the helicopter shot there. It reminds me of like a traffic camera. But regardless, it looks like Gangstars are able to recoup, only losing 1 player, but they did take a lot of damage.
Meanwhile, we've got a big fight that's happening between Space Station Gaming and NRG. Space Station's just getting downed all over the place. They did some damage to NRG in return, but Znark's just not letting them do a full-on retreat. Just Smurf is still up and active at this stage. You see Blitzer cascading around, trying to make it over to his friend. He gets dropped before he gets a chance to. Now he's in a catastrophe point. Smokes are down all around him. You can see there's an NRG player just right out in front of him. Bullets are connecting inside of it, and they go down real early.
Wow, that's before the first circle has completed his transition. Space Station gets eliminated by NRG. That came apart. Now it's Totality and Cloud9.
This is the fight that we were kind of looking at earlier. These guys are very aggressive. They were trying to collapse onto FlyQuest, but now they're coming in contact with each other. Riem's already down inside of this fight. Off in the distance, you can see Totality does have control over the Wizard Tower, but all the tires on their vehicles are getting shot out.
The 4X and the DP, an interesting combination. Moody holding an angle on the window. Totality again corralled in a single building. They do have an opportunity to kind of push up that way if they wanted to, but Purdy is trying to hold the outside angle, putting some return fire. Moody having to back off.
And that's a nice play coming out of Purdy, giving them a little bit more breathing room. Neither one of these teams wants to full commit to a breach at this point. They're fine for just doing a little bit of damage back and forth. It's going to be the moment that the knock comes in, because you have to remember Totality's already lost one member. They're just trying to play off of this and try to stay as safe as they possibly can. Purdy's playing their outside flanking position.
Not a lot of ammo on Purdy there. So only 70 rounds for Purdy and then M14. They're going to have to, or sorry, the Mini 14, they're going to have to maybe, I don't know, jump in there. They can't leave in their vehicles now. Cloud9 has disabled them all. Cloud9 doesn't need to move. They're dead center in the middle of the play zone. This is a situation where I imagine this is going to be a bit of a stalemate for at least a little while. There's just no need to move for either of these teams.
But the big part about this is Death Row is 100% active right now. With this road cutting across the top, these guys can see into both sides of approaches. They're smack dab in the middle of the map. So as transitions happen, everybody's going to potentially have to drive around Totality or Cloud9. If they get scared off of one position, they could run straight into another squad. This is a hard hold position that could lead to a lot of kills.
Slime Squad in transition themselves. They have made their way from the north to the south, and they have arrived right on top of EU United as well as Orbit, I believe. They, sorry, excuse me, I can't see what team that is, but regardless, Slime Squad in transition, moving down into the current play zone. We're about to see our first shift. Team Gates and Gangstars still kind of corralling around each other.
On the map at the present time, you can see everybody has opted into a hard synergy strategy. This is very common when you end up with a very centralized circle right smack dab in the middle of the map. Everybody has their comfort points they can play around. Everybody's just trying to disengage out. You can see the God Squad's taking a little bit of damage on the outside of that. Going to be one person getting down, and it's going to be Drassel that gets taken out.
So Drassel is down and out. Kaint and the rest of Wildcard now in a position where they do have to move. Ooh. We've seen the circle shift all the way west. So now this is looking good for a team like Trigger Happy as well as Energy. Orbit is there as well, but now the transition has begun, and that entire right side of the play zone is going to get very messy.
And this is game 4, last game of the day. This is where everybody's wanting to try to make something happen. They really want to work their way up the leaderboard. This is their chance. Everybody can see instantly jumps into their vehicles. It's a hard collapse. Just look at the center of the safe circle right now. It's just name upon name, all stacked on top of each other, all inside of vehicles, all hunting somewhere to go. Meanwhile, the guys that are already in a position, they opted into holding the spot first. They can take shots at anybody that comes through.
Pachinki's empty. I just wanted to point that out. Pachinki is completely empty. Not obviously the best hold you can have, but it is an option for some of these teams. Energy having come from there, moving out on top of Orbit. You can see there's just a jumble of names. Very little space here. That shift is a nightmare for them.
There is just absolutely nowhere safe for anybody to feel. 66 people still alive. So much transition, so many vehicles that are maneuvering around. Every time you think that you know where somebody's coming from, you're just going to hear another car coming back behind you. It's really hard to focus down, but it looks like Honey Badger Nation does manage to get a shot onto Slime and Squad, and they're going to take down Microstar. You can see the Snowbird's bailing out of his vehicle as quickly as possible, trying to get a read on what's happening around him.
So for Snowbird, he's taking some shots at this vehicle. We can't see who it is just yet, but actually that looks like it has Orbit on the way past. Snowbird trying to take some shots there. Honey Badger Nation below them. Looks like he's going to try and retreat, see if he can get a line of sight on a Honey Badger Nation. I believe they have the better cover in this situation.
And Totality's caught in a hard spot right now. It was going to be the guys from Ghost came up right back behind them. Everybody is on foot at this stage. It looks like they've kind of found their little homes. It's just everybody looking around, trying to make sure that they get control. The full 360 degrees. Tempo Storm feeling really strong after the last game, opting into a full plateau point at this moment so they can have full line of sight on everything down below them.
So now the circle has begun yet another shift. Most teams already in the next play zone after that horrendous rotate. Most teams have survived so far. 19 remaining. Space Station Gaming, the only ones eliminated so far. So now it's going to be a question of what does this circle do next? Everyone seemed to have kind of settled for now, but Slime Squad finds themselves split.
Right now, it's also interesting to note there's only about 2 squads that are really playing the edge. We've got the guys Nova that are playing in the southern area of the circle, and we've got Ghost that's right hard smacked on the other side of it. You can tell that they're trying to play for position at this point. They know that they're at the top of the leaderboard. They don't want to risk running into the center of the circle. Meanwhile, a lot of these teams that are willing to scrap, they know that they need the points, are willing to hard push in. You can see Dignitas already inside of some vehicles moving to a new point. They're trying to get control, and they're forcing Trigger Happy to respond.
So for Trigger Happy, they have not had a good showing so far today, not putting up a lot of points. But for Dignitas, it's the opposite. They have been active and fighting in every single round, have not translated into a victory yet, but they have been trending upwards as C9 takes eyes on United.
They see him trying to hit those shots on top of this. You know, Cloud9 has been really close to a couple of victories, and they want this. Already at 2 kills, they're trying to get some line of sight on United, and it seems like United knows exactly where they are, trying to use the different cover points so that way they don't reveal themselves and don't peek too hard. Because, again, last game of the day, nobody wants to take those risks. They want to try to keep all 4 members alive so they can really crush that end game.
So now Cloud9, even though they have a split position, Frolicker holding the Wizard Tower while the rest of his team holds the compound below. United is taking shot after shot, trying to take that tick damage, putting it onto C9 to just degrade their armor, their helmets, and their meds. But I'm interested to see now, as we see the circle shift once again, we are going to be taking this. We're going to be taking this play zone again further to the west, around that Pachinki area. And now Pachinki is going to be a very viable option for a lot of these teams, as everyone, or well, I would say 50% of the teams find themselves outside the play zone.
And now all the pressure is onto Slime Squad. They're holding that point on Pachinki. You can see that they're trying to disperse a little bit more, get more control points. Wildcard looks like they're already going for a hard crash. Tempo Storm's your boy Dre just coming straight in. They're like, no, we're going to get this foothold inside of Pachinki, but now Dignitas is right back behind them. We could have 3 different squads all collapsing around that northern area of Pachinki. Meanwhile, Slime Squad's trying to hold out Honey Badger Nation on the southern part. Wow. You can see the Diggs rolling right up back behind Tempo Storm, hits a rock. Gustav already goes down as BenQ5 manages to line up some good shots on him. That might force them to reposition. Diggs now caught between multiple squads in their transition. Optics back behind them. They could pepper in some shots on this. Dignitas is just trying to find somewhere to go. They're circling the wagons. They're like, no, there's absolutely nowhere
Optic
that's
is
safe.
there too. Optic is there too. Dignitas has nowhere to go. They are set up around this compound. Now Optic again getting crashed by Dignitas. Nothing coming out just yet, but Wookie Bookie was separated and forced away. So it's only Adam and Uncivil holding on to one of these buildings. Optic was spread out a little thin, but they are now converging, trying to deal with this encroaching Dignitas team.
You can see that Dignitas has no idea where all of the different members for Optic are. They're doing that slow crawl, trying to get information. They just had to retreat and crash a building. They don't know what's all around them. They know that Optic is nearby. They can see that way off in the distance, Trigger Happy can potentially get a couple of shots. They've got that hill that's up in between them. Trigger Happy taking down Wookie Bookie. He couldn't make it back over towards his friends. You can see way up over there next to that bunker's location, the closed bunker.
So that's unfortunate for Dignitas, who they did have a push coming, but they could not stay together. So Wookie Bookie separated and killed. Slime Squad now occupying Pachinki with Honey Badger Nation. Tempo Storm arriving nearby as well. So this Pachinki area is going to be the focal point of this next rotation. Team Gates, Gangstars, Totality, Cloud9, and Ghost all have to rotate. The west side is completely clear, and Ghost is rotating along the bottom.
And they're coming in, doing what they've been doing this whole time. God Squad's going to take a couple of shots at them, let them know that they shouldn't rotate into that area. There's still a couple of different places that they can play around the southern spot. United not feeling too comfortable with where they are, going for a reposition so that way they can hard push inside of here. A lot of bullets still coming over towards Ghost, but again, this is kind of the safer spot. Really, the only guys that are near them are going to be the FlyQuest guys. They've already taken a little bit of damage, so going to be interesting to see where these different guys post up at.
Caden does take a shot there. I'm not sure if that's the backpack hiding the vest or not, but Caden and the rest, the remnants, I should say, of Ghost are arriving behind the last player, or the last couple of players from
these
Paradox.
guys aren't looking that direction. They're all looking uphill. Everybody from E United is concerned about what's happening on top. Spins around. Daz gets a nice shot on top of this. That's going to be Geist instantly getting dropped there. Gangstar's really trying to capitalize off of this. Kaisuko's off to the left. Off on the far right is going to be Microfry. They're kind of putting themselves in a pincered position. If Gangstars pushes this too hard, they can end up getting caught in a vicious crossfire.
Microfry has to step out and do something here. Kaisuko throwing grenades around the top. He does get one, so Daz does go down. Kaisuko now looking to press. He's going to step over, see if he can finish it off. Teflon on the defense, takes down Jimmer. Microfry steps out as well. Kaisuko's down, and that is going to be it finished. Kaisuko finished off, so now Microfry is going to have to try and save this for his team.
But he's getting a couple of downs off on this. It's really just Smeagol and Microfry that are still up for their teams. Smeagol's trying to get a little bit of health off on this. You can see the circle starting to collapse in. Microfry is not inside of the circle. Neither are the guys from Gangstars. Off in the distance, though, Team Gates is hearing all of this and thinking about capitalizing on it.
Wow.
And yes, does pick up one of those kills. Deny a couple of points here. And you look at this long flank.
opts away from it. You can see he runs forward, like, this might be a little bit too much. Let's come back.
Microfry had the opportunity, and now it would have been brave. I'm not going to fault him for not going out there, but he had the ability to step out, but he was separated from his team. He was on the flank, but he did not actually get aggressive like the rest of his squad did. That left Gangstar's